Chapter 632. Butcher stood in front of Luchin. Hey kid, I'll let you watch a good show first. I'll let you have a good taste of fear. Ha. Have you ever seen someone skin and pull out tendons while they're still alive? That's too wonderful. Coupled with the screams and pleas, I'm excited just thinking about it. I've specially prepared this good show for you, ha. Seeing Butcher's almost deranged state, many of the audience could not take it anymore. This guy was really a perverted demon. In front of his prey, he can only watch as others are tortured. This is murderous. Damn really. With Butcher as the hunter in the future, I really can't participate in the battle of trapped beasts. It's too scary. The psychological pressure on the enemy is unimaginable. Thinking that he will die even more miserably in a while, I think that human guy will collapse before the fight even starts. And at this moment, Luchin spoke. I'm not watching. The group of people almost collapsed. What kind of trick was this? Closing his eyes and pretending that nothing happened? Even the noble saintess spat out the wine in her mouth before swallowing it. She could not help but laugh hysterically. This guy, I'm dying of laughter. He doesn't play by the rules. Butcher's arrogance seemed to have been doused with a bucket of cold water. His brain short-circuited and he did not know what to say. The carefully prepared show was completely useless. This feeling was too sullen. Of course, this feeling quickly turned into an even more intense anger. You dare to make fun of me? Luchin also stood up. Are you sick in the head? Your eyes are on me. I can see whatever I want to see, and I can't see whatever I don't want to see. Why do you care? Every day, isn't it just dismemberment? You make it sound like it's some kind of technical skill. Do you think anyone can do it? What's there to see? If you turn into a pig, I might find it interesting. Let's see. Butcher was known for his cruelty, not his glib tongue. Luchin was not a talkative person, but when it came to rebuking people, he was not ambiguous at all. Butcher had never met such an arrogant contestant. Most people would run when they saw him, but this person directly scolded him. You stink from head to toe. Can't you take a shower? Do I have to kill people by suffocating them to death first before I can win? What did you say? I said you stink. You're obviously a pig, but you like a pig. If it wasn't for your stink at the entrance, I would have killed you. You're a disgrace. You're looking for death. Yes, butcher, butcher of butts. Would it kill you to take a bath? I'll kill you. In the VIP lounge, the saintess was laughing so hard that she was hugging her stomach. I can't take it anymore. This guy is too funny. Butcher has never met such a person in his life. Luchin shook his head. You said you were going to kill me a long time ago. I've been waiting for you here for 40 minutes. As a result, I can't find you like a pig. Are you stupid? I'm just lying here, and you still need others to lead the way to find me? Sorry, I shouldn't have called you a pig. Even a pig is smarter than you. The guy who was hanging on the chain was stunned. Someone dared to talk big in front of Butcher? How big was this guy's heart? Who in the Wildlands didn't know Butcher? Who didn't fear Butcher? Even if it was a super expert, they would at least be a little afraid of Butcher. But this guy didn't have a trace of fear and directly scolded Butcher as a pig. Seeing Butcher speechless for a long time, some people already felt that Butcher was a little pitiful. Butcher swung his hand and flung the person on the chain away. He didn't care about skinning a living person now. Even if he wanted to skin someone, it would be this human brat skin. Very good, I've never seen such an arrogant guy like you. I'll make you regret it. I'll definitely make you regret it. I'll make you wish you were dead. For the next 2 hours, I'll slowly torture you. That's all you can say. Your knowledge is really lacking. But you're a pig after all. It's normal that you can't speak human language. Luchin sneered. What are you standing there for? Do you only know how to talk and not do anything? Butcher was about to explode. It was clearly that brat who had been talking, but he ended up being ridiculed for only knowing how to talk. Okay, then I'm coming. Iron chain crisscross. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The chains in Butcher's hands shuttled through the air, forming 4 iron chain walls. trapping him and Lu Chen in this narrow space. There was no way to dodge in this mere area of a dozen square meters. The two of them had to engage in close combat. This place isn't big. It just so happens that I like this kind of narrow space. Games like this are more interesting. When it came to games, Butcher finally revealed a cruel and evil smile. Corpse Poison Deep Sea Domain. Within the chains, corpse poison exploded, filling up the entire space. Infinite Lock. Shredding Platform. A large number of chains shot toward Lu Chen from all directions without any pattern. The edge of the chain had already turned into a sharp blade. This skill was called Shredding Platform, and it lived up to its name. If one was trapped by these chains, they would probably be cut into pieces. Brat, don't worry. I'll leave you with one last breath. Butcher swung the chain in his hand, spinning the hook, and suddenly threw it out. Moon-plucking heart-gouging hook. Butcher finally made his move. The Saintess had also finished laughing. It was finally time to make her move. She sighed slightly. Such an interesting person is going to die in Butcher's hands. I actually feel that it's a pity. As the only person who truly cared about Lu Chen's life and death, Shuang Ling was so nervous that she had difficulty breathing. Brother Kuang must win. At this moment, he was completely different from his previous sloppy appearance. It was as if he was a different person. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. Lu Chen said coldly, "You want me to be afraid of you? Sorry, I'm afraid the one who should be afraid is you. I don't like to kill people. However, Butcher, you can be an exception." 6 Divine Transformations. With a boom, Lu Chen's body erupted with a dazzling golden light. However, this time, his eyes didn't change color. They were still clear. Ever since the battle with the Holy War Demon Reverend, Lu Chen could control his emotions better. He raised his hand. The limitless divine demon sword slowly rose. The countless chains around him actually trembled for a short moment. A king has appeared, and only I am supreme. Place of death. Dragon blood boiling. Infinite grace, liberation. Chapter 633. Lu Chen's figure was so fast that it could not be seen clearly. He flashed past. -3,200,000. -3,600,000. -3,400,000. -3,500,000. For bestowal release only dealt 13 million damage. What surprised Lu Chen was that the Butcher's HP was as high as 400 million. This HP was even higher than the Holy War Demon Commander. The Holy War Demon Commander was the demon race's great celestial commander. The demon race was strong, but the great celestial commander was even stronger. However, the Butcher's HP was 100 million higher than his. Perhaps this guy liked to dismember for some special reason that could strengthen his attributes. However, the Butcher's biggest mistake was that he trapped himself and Lu Chen in this small space. Lu Chen was not afraid of anyone in melee combat. 10 million damage was completely negligible to the Butcher. However, being counterattacked by this human made him furious. "Little bastard, you actually have some moves. If you can't kill me, you're dead." Lu Chen snorted coldly. "Can't kill you? You think too much. Isn't it just a domain that reduces the attack? Then try this." Shura Doppelganger. Triple Void Shatter. These 3 punches caused the entire desolate god palace to rumble. Countless surrounding buildings collapsed. The people hiding inside inexplicably found that the buildings collapsed just like that. Their faces were filled with horror. What's going on? Which hunter is it? What a terrifying aftershock. Which hunter is it? In the entire audience area, the audience only felt the seats shake violently. A gust of wind blew in their faces, carrying fine sand and gravel. The most shocked were the staff of the desolate god palace. Why did the domain lose its effect? What's going on? It seems like number 83 did it. I'm looking at his image. Impossible. How can he shatter all the domains and barriers? That attack has to be more than 1 billion. At the same time, the iron chain was completely shattered. Half of the Butcher's fat body was missing. His right arm, right chest, lower abdomen, and right thigh had a big hole in it. Organs could be seen in the bloody hole. With a clang, the wine glass in the saint's hand fell to the ground. She involuntarily stood up from her seat, her eyes filled with shock. He broke the domain, barriers, and the iron chain. How much damage did he do? 1 billion or 2 billion? This guy is actually so strong. Zhu Hua's eyes were filled with shock. Is he really a human? He insta-killed Butcher? This is too unbelievable. Shuang Ling was alone in the preparation area, staring at the screen in shock. She knew that Lu Chen was strong. After all, she had seen him shatter the strength testing stone with her own eyes. The upper limit of the strength testing stone was 100 million, so he had to shatter at least 300 to 400 million. But the shock of shattering the strength testing stone last time was completely different from this time. The combined effects of multiple domains and barriers rendered all the contestants powerless. However, Solipsistic had shattered all the rules and restrictions with a single move. Even the 400 million HP Hunter Butcher was instantly killed. All of a sudden Shuang Ling understood. Why would Brother Kuang so leisurely close his eyes to rest during the competition? He might even have fallen asleep. Because he was really strong. Hunter. It turns out that Brother Kuang is the real hunter. He's waiting for his prey to take the bait. In the battlefield, an area of 100 meters had been cleared. The buildings here had all been cleared, leaving only Lu Chen and Butcher, who only had half of his body left. Lu Chen's 3 doppelgangers had returned to Lu Chen's body. If he didn't explain the difference, others might think that the 2 Azura doppelgangers were the same as ordinary doppelgangers. Butcher wasn't dead. Lu Chen's 3 punches had shattered the void, 1 punch had shattered the iron chains, and 1 punch had shattered the barrier. Only 1 punch had truly landed on Butcher's body. He had left Butcher with a single breath, but it was only a single breath. Butcher looked at his mutilated body in disbelief, then raised his head to look at Lu Chen. The fear in his eyes couldn't be concealed. Lu Chen shook his hand and raised his head to look at Butcher. I see fear in your eyes. This sentence was simply Butcher's opening statement. However, at this moment, it was indeed Lu Chen who was saying this to Butcher. How did you do it? I don't believe it. I don't believe that I didn't even have a chance to retaliate. Lu Chen looked at Butcher with a smile that wasn't a smile. You want to retaliate in front of me? What are you thinking? Do you know why I left you with a single breath? Butcher stared at Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled and walked toward Butcher step by step. Don't you like to dismember others? Don't you like it when others beg for mercy? Since you like it so much, I'll let you have a taste too. Upon hearing Lu Chen's words, Butcher's face turned even paler. What do you want to do? Lu Chen held the infinite demon god sword and smiled at Butcher. Actually, if we're talking about cruelty, I'm crueler than you. With that, Lu Chen used triple door and arrived next to Butcher. He adjusted his attack ratio to the lowest. Even if Butcher didn't have much HP left, he could still hold on for a long time. Don't worry, I'll dismember you one part at a time. Oh right, you're more experienced. Which part should I dismember first? Do you have any suggestions? Butcher's eyes were filled with fear. This fellow actually asked him which part he wanted to start with. Just how crazy was this? Even he didn't think of it. I'm a hunter. You can't kill me? There are no rules here. Lu Chen smiled. He raised his sword and cut off Butcher's left forearm. Now the show begins. 2 minutes later, Lu Chen looked at Butcher on the ground and shook his head. He didn't really dismember Butcher into 8 pieces. He felt that it was a bit too cruel and he couldn't do it. It seemed that not everyone could be a pervert. Lu Chen had killed countless people, but he had never dismembered a corpse like Butcher. However, Butcher didn't live up to expectations. Under the great fear and the damage to his body, he quickly lost all signs of life. His consciousness must have fainted. Since there was no way to scare him anymore, it didn't matter whether the corpse was dismembered or not. Lu Chen bestowed the Butcher with the gift of release, completely granting the Butcher freedom. This time, Lu Chen directly used physical damage. If nothing unexpected happened, Butcher should be dead in the real world. Standing up, Lu Chen shook his head. You've killed countless people for fun. Why did you faint when it came to yourself? It seems that you're not much stronger than others. The person that Butcher had captured earlier was hiding far behind a house to observe the battle. Seeing Lu Chen insta-kill Butcher, that guy's jaw almost dropped. Fuck, how can that human be so strong? Fortunately, I didn't fight him in the beginning. Otherwise, I'd be finished. Is this all he's got? That's too scary. Even hunters aren't his match. He actually scared Butcher to death. That's unbelievable. Lu Chen looked at that person from afar and didn't bother to pay attention to him. His gaze swept across the distance. Sighing, Lu Chen stretched and yawned. I've rested for almost an hour. It's time to move around. What about the other defenders? You want me to find them? Chapter 634. Lu Chen woke up, but the entire audience was silent. Did you guys see that? Contestant 83 scared Butcher to death. What scared him to death? He wanted to dismember Butcher, but Butcher couldn't hold on and fainted first. Didn't you say it the other way around? It should be Butcher who dismembered the contestant. No, you didn't feel the violent shaking just now, right? The desolate God Palace's domain was rearranged. The previous one was already destroyed by that guy. He deliberately left Butcher with his last breath. When he was about to dismember Butcher's corpse, Butcher died first. Everyone who heard this news felt their worldview collapse. This matter was too hard to understand. At the same time, in VIP Lounge 1, the Saintess was still in shock. Her subordinates whispered, "That guy is not only strong, but he's even more vicious than Butcher. Look at how gentle he is, he's really vicious." At this time, Zhu Yi whispered to the Saintess, "Saintess, should we inform Piercer to avoid that contestant 83? The Saintess finally recovered and nodded. "Let's remind them. That guy's strength is above Piercer's, and he's vicious. He's not someone Piercer can deal with." "Yes, Saintess." Hearing the conversation between her sister and the Saintess, Zhu Hua's brain short-circuited. Hunters had to avoid their prey? There was such a thing. It wasn't only the Saintess tribe that made this decision. The other factions also informed their hunters to avoid contestant 83. "Piercer, pay attention to contestant 83. Avoid him. That guy is a homicidal maniac. He's currently looking for hunters to kill. Demon Tomb, avoid number 83 as soon as you see him. A super expert has appeared and killed Butcher's physical body. He's still looking for more hunters. Deepa, don't touch contestant 83. That guy is very strong. That tremor just now was caused by him breaking the domain and killing Butcher." The news was passed to the hunters and everyone was shocked. A contestant chasing after a hunter to kill him? What the hell was this? Of course, this was a matter of face. There were still many people watching their performance. Even if they received the news, they couldn't show it in front of so many people. As long as they paid attention to the map, they could easily avoid number 83. In short, the hunter had determined that he couldn't provoke contestant number 83. Lu Chen walked between the scattered houses. Just now, he had clearly heard the sound of fighting. Why was there no one here when he rushed over? Strange. Where is he? Right now, there are still 48 participants. Although the desolate God Palace is not small, it shouldn't be to the extent that we can't meet a single person, right? If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to reveal too much of his strength in front of so many people, he would have opened his heaven's eye to look for those hunters. On the way, Lu Chen encountered several big bosses, but compared to the hunters, it was obvious that these bosses' IQ was too low. It was not too difficult to avoid them. There are still 45 people. Lu Chen was depressed. There were clearly so many people, but he hadn't met a single one. Suddenly, a loud sound came from not far away, and the ground shook. Lu Chen excitedly used his movement technique and rushed over. This time, their luck was good. A female hunter had just killed a contestant. The halberd pierced through the contestant's body and threw him far away. His body was probably seriously injured. At this time, Lu Chen was standing opposite her, and he could see it clearly. The Saintess' heart was in her throat. Lu Chen had met none other than her tribe's halberd. What's going on? Didn't I tell her to stay away from contestant 83? Why is she still so careless? Saintus, Halberd and Deviltomb killed the same number of people. Halberd probably wanted to kill a few more people. Among the major forces, there was also competition. That was to see who could kill more hunters. There was even a bet between the major forces. It was just that this kind of thing wasn't made public so others didn't know about it. As a result, in order to kill one more person, she encountered contestant 83. At this time, Halberd looked at Lu Qin. Her luck was good. A stupid guy actually ran in front of her. But she immediately received a message from Pearlflower. This person was contestant 83. Contestant 83? No wonder he dared to take the initiative to appear. He was here to kill her. At this time, what should she do? The Saintess had personally said not to touch that guy. The Saintess' vision would never be wrong. She shouldn't be this guy's opponent. Running in front of so many people, wouldn't that be a loss of face for the Saintess tribe? At this time, Halberd suddenly covered his eyes with one hand and shouted, "It hurts. This guy's blinding effect is so strong. After such a long time, I still can't recover my vision." Lu Qin was stunned. What was going on? The other party was blinded? Halberd took a few steps back. Leaning on the ground, she sighed, "Forget it. Let's take a rest first. Wait for the blinding effect to disappear. Then we'll kill the other contestants." After that, Halberd teleported and ran away. Lu Qin frowned. What was going on? It wasn't easy to catch a hunter, but that guy was blinded by a contestant? Blinding was blinding, but why did he run so fast? Lu Qin shook his head. After thinking about it, he decided not to chase. The desolate god palace had rearranged the restriction domain. It would be very troublesome for him to catch up with the other party. Lu Qin found several hunters, but these people either didn't see him or they were blinded. Those who had no spiritual energy had to restore their spiritual energy, and those who were in a bad state wanted to restore their spiritual energy. In short, Lu Qin didn't have a chance to make a move. Lu Qin was also a sly person. He thought about it and decided to take the method of waiting for the rabbit to appear and hide in a house. Sure enough, not long after, a hunter flattened the house with a knife. There is no one here. What luck! Where did the rest of the contestants go? I must hurry up and kill a few more. The hunter stood 4 or 5 meters in front of Lu Qin and left with a regretful face. "Hey, I'm not a human. Are your eyes blind? I'm standing here and you can't see me?" Lu Qin collapsed. That guy didn't wait for him to speak and had already left. It's not that I want to say this, but with your eyes, you really don't deserve to be hunters. Didn't you say that you have the full map? You can't even see this. You're too weak. Lu Qin angrily complained. In the end, Lu Qin also gave up. With an hour left, he began to kill the bosses in the desolate god palace. The bosses here didn't drop equipment, but they dropped leveling materials. This was Lu Qin's exclusive drop and had not been cancelled. I can only level up. In the end, they will find me the most. However, Lu Qin killed all 30 bosses. No one came to disturb him. Congratulations to contestant number 83 for becoming the only survivor of the trapped beast arena. A voice sounded in the desolate god palace. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The 9 hunters stood together. Everyone had a tacit understanding. Everyone knew that it wasn't contestant number 83 who survived, but them. It's finally over. I've never participated in such a frightening trapped beast arena in my life. Deepa wiped the sweat on his forehead. Yeah, we had to kill players and hide from that guy. It wasn't easy for us. Fortunately, there were some bosses for him to kill. He finally found something to do. Otherwise, what would we do if he really chased after us? Chapter 635. Lu Qin was called to the open space in the middle of the desolate god palace. As usual, the host was going to interview the winner. At this time, the hunters were also standing opposite Lu Qin in a row, giving off a strong sense of oppression just like when they appeared. The host walked to Lu Qin's side and said, "First of all, congratulations to contestant number 83. With his extraordinary wisdom, strategy, and strength, he survived from the hands of the 9 powerful hunters and became the only surviving contestant." The hunters' faces were not looking good. What kind of wisdom did this guy have? What strategy did he have? He slept in the arena for an hour and spent the rest of the time fighting bosses to level up. The host also avoided talking about the butcher's matter. 10 hunters had now become 9. Next, let's take a look at Mr. Solipsistic 83's bet. The host opened the betting panel and zoomed in. The amount of money bet on number 83 is still very large. 63% of the bets were eliminated within 10 minutes, and 99% of the bets were eliminated within an hour. There is also a spirit stone bet on number 83 winning the championship. Friend, you're really lucky. You earned 10,000 spiritual stones with just one spiritual stone. Is this friend here? If so, please come to the stage. Lu Chen shook his head. Don't look for it. This spirit stone is my bet. Don't waste time. Hurry up and give me the prize money. The host's heart skipped a beat. This demon seemed to be a little impatient. Although he looked gentle, the scene of him killing the butcher just now could not help but make people feel afraid of him. Even the hunters did not dare to look into this guy's eyes, and the host was even more so walking on thin ice. Oh, that's no problem. Then, congratulations to Mr. Solipsistic for winning the huge prize. Someone immediately brought up a box of spirit stones. In addition to the 10,000 spirit stones that Lu Chen won, a total of 30,000 spirit stones filled a box. The real thing was like cash, giving people an even greater shock. Wow, I'm really rich. 30,000 spirit stones, it's already comparable to the assets of a small force. With so many spirit stones, I won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of my life. Lu Chen only casually glanced at the spirit stones, kept them in his backpack, and then turned to leave the desolate god palace. In the preparation area, Shuang Ling was the only one left. When she saw that Lu Chen had returned to the preparation area, Shuang Ling threw herself onto Lu Chen in tears. Brother Kuang, you scared me to death. What's wrong? Lu Chen asked softly. Shuang Ling's eyes were red and swollen as she looked around. At this moment, Lu Chen noticed that the ground of the preparation area was covered in blood. A few people were dragging a few corpses out of the area. Out of 100 people, he was the only one who survived, which meant that 99 people had been defeated. Among the defeated, many of them had died. The preparation area hadn't been cleaned up yet, and the blood on the ground had yet to dry, giving off the smell of blood. One could imagine how much pressure Shuang Ling must have felt when she saw the corpses being sent back one after another. Lu Chen smiled and patted Shuang Ling's head. Silly girl, do you think I'm silly? If I didn't have confidence, I wouldn't have participated in this kind of competition. Do you want me to tell you the truth? Lu Chen looked at Shuang Ling in surprise. What truth? You're really silly. You're still sleeping during the competition. That time when someone attacked you, I was almost scared to death. And the butcher, you deliberately provoked him. I thought you were dead. Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. This girl didn't understand him, and she didn't understand Harry Ball either. I wanted to defeat a few hunters so that I could leave a deeper impression on the major forces. There are some things I'm looking for in the Wildlands. If I can establish a relationship with the natives, it should be twice the result with half the effort. As for the butcher, I don't like that kind of bastard. This time, I'll let him have a taste of what it's like to kick a steel plate. Well, I'm back now, and we have money. Let's heal your injuries and go find the tomb of the god of sin. Shuang Ling looked at Lu Chen in astonishment. Silly? No, she now understood that Brother Kuang was smarter than anyone else. Lu Chen seemed to be careless during the competition, but in fact, he already had his own plans. He didn't put the ordinary contestants in his eyes. His goal had always been the hunters. When he came out of the preparation area, Lu Chen was stopped by 2 women. Solipsistic, our saintess wants to see you. Shuang Ling froze for a moment. The saintess actually wanted to see Brother Kuang in person. Brother Kuang's plan was successful. She turned her head and saw Lu Chen smiling. Okay, let's go. Only you can go. This woman stays. The person said with an inviolable tone. This is my sister. I don't feel at ease leaving her here alone. If you don't let her go, then I won't see her. Lu Chen didn't budge an inch. Don't think that just because you have some ability, you can go against the Saintess. Lu Chen coldly snorted. His eyes revealed a trace of killing intent. So, you want to take her away by force? Facing Lu Chen's gaze, Zhu Hua slightly narrowed her eyes. In a one-on-one fight, she wasn't this guy's opponent. But behind her was the Saintess tribe. In the wilderness, no one dared to be rude to the Saintess tribe. At this time, she received a message. The message only had one sentence. Agree to him. In the first VIP room, Lu Chen and Shuangling entered the hall under the guidance of Zhu Hua. The hall had a compartment. Outside the room, there were 20 to 30 guards wearing all kinds of equipment. Among them, there was also a hunter. The Saintess is inside. She wants to see you alone. Lu Chen didn't let go of Shuangling's hand. He didn't feel at ease leaving Shuangling here alone. At this time, a sweet voice came from the inner room. Our Saintess tribe has always been fair. With our strength, even if we are enemies, we will declare war in advance. Your sister's life, compared to the reputation of our Saintess tribe, which one do you think is more important? Lu Chen slightly frowned. At this time, Shuangling gently pulled Lu Chen's sleeve. Kuang Ge, the Aborigines are very honest. Not to mention, this is the Saintess tribe. Since they have guaranteed my safety, there won't be any problems. You can rest assured. Lu Chen nodded and entered the inner room. Opening the bead curtain, he saw a white figure with her back facing him. There was no one else around. Lu Chen was slightly surprised. This Saintess' courage was quite big. She actually dared to see him alone. Was she not afraid that he would kidnap her? Solipsistic, didn't you say that you want me to pay more attention to you? Do you have a deal with me? Come here. Lu Chen walked to the opposite side of the Saintess. Please sit down. The Saintess stood up and personally poured a cup of tea for Lu Chen. As soon as he saw the tea, Lu Chen's mind thought of the plus 50 spiritual power. Without any hesitation, he drank it. However, the plus 50 spiritual power didn't appear. The Saintess didn't see through Lu Chen's mental activity. She poured another cup for him and then sat opposite to Lu Chen. Your performance has indeed attracted my attention. So, I want to ask you, what do you want from me? With that, the Saintess lifted her jade finger and took off her veil. Chapter 636. Lu Chen was a little excited. The Saintess was going to take off her veil in front of him. From those eyes, that pleasant voice, and that enchanting body, even if her facial features were slightly lacking, the Saintess was definitely a beauty among beauties. After taking off her veil, Lu Chen was shocked by the Saintess' delicate facial features. A pair of clear eyes, a high nose bridge, fresh and tender lips, and a slightly angular jaw. Although her facial features looked perfect, why did it feel a little weird? The Saintess looked at Lu Chen's stunned expression and did not mind. She smiled and said, "Do you feel weird looking at my face?" Lu Chen spat out the tea in his mouth. The Saintess' voice was low and magnetic. A man. The Saintess was a man. He was an extremely beautiful man. Even though Lu Chen was a resourceful person, when he saw the Saintess, his mind was still in a mess. The Saintess smiled. Her movements were still elegant as she poured Lu Chen another cup of tea. Don't be surprised. Our Saintess tribe has been passed down for many years. Other than the previous Saintesses who were real women, almost all the descendants are like me. Why? Lu Chen asked. The Aragami are men. Usually, men can better inherit the Aragami's ability. When the Aragami fell, there were still many men in our tribe who inherited the Aragami's ability. However, as time passed, those men died or left the Saintess tribe. This kind of inheritance is getting harder and harder. So, in order to preserve the Aragami's bloodline as much as possible, the Saintess became a man like me. This way, she can better inherit the Aragami's ability. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. He did not expect the Saintess tribe to have such a secret history. The Aragami's ability can only be inherited by men? Yes. Lu Chen nodded. Well, this was someone else's family matter. It had nothing to do with him. You don't have to tell me this, right? Lu Chen frowned slightly. People say that the more you know, the faster you die. You're burdening me by telling me so much. The saintess smiled. Our saintess tribe has always been honest when dealing with others. Of course, we rarely deal with outsiders like you. That's why you're so shocked. If you feel uncomfortable talking to you like this, I can put on a veil. Lu Chen shook his head. It's okay. I don't mind. The saintess smiled. All right, can you tell me what you want from me now? Fiend God Lotus Heart Fragment. The saint's eyes widened. This fellow was truly honest. A fragment of the demonic lotus heart. Do you know what that is? Lu Chen nodded. I know. That's why I want to find it. Then do you know that the fragments are distributed among the various factions? It's impossible to gather all of them. Moreover, even if you can recover the Fiend God Lotus Heart, the equipment's effect will be very ordinary. Lu Chen obviously knew that the Fiend God Lotus Heart's true power could only be unleashed with the Fiend God Mixed Cultivation Technique. Others didn't have the cultivation technique, but he did. Unfortunately, Lu Chen couldn't be honest with the saintess about this topic. How do you know the effects of the Fiend God Lotus Heart? I also obtained some information from ancient books. All in all, the treatment that this equipment enjoys is actually far beyond its own ability. Perhaps its existence is more of a symbolic meaning. It's also because of this that some fragments are scattered all over the place. Lu Chen finally understood this point. If everyone knew how powerful the Fiend God Lotus Heart was, they would definitely treat it as a treasure. The various factions wouldn't lose their own fragments. It was precisely because people didn't know the true power of the Fiend God Lotus Heart that people would secretly trade it or simply lose it. You don't have to worry about that. I just want to know if you have any fragments of the Fiend God Lotus Heart. Lu Chen asked. No, but I know where the Savage Land is. The Holy Maiden smiled faintly. What's the price? Lu Chen went straight to the point. 20,000 spiritual stones. Also, I need you to do something for me. 20,000 spiritual stones is fine. What do you need me to do? Lu Chen looked at the saintess. Break the curse of the Savage Land. Lu Chen frowned and waited for the saintess to continue. The natives of the Savage Land are very strong. You should have heard of that. However, we can only live here for generations. The people outside can come in and out, but we can't. We can't leave the Savage Land at all. This is a formation that the desolate god left behind to protect his descendants. This protection, after thousands of years, became a kind of restriction. We can't leave the Savage Land and can't enter the higher heavens. Lu Chen frowned. Shuang Ling once said that the natives were very strong, but they never challenged the heaven-reaching tower. So this was the real reason. Why don't you break the curse yourselves? Only outsiders can do it. Firstly, we are not allowed to do so in name. We are suspected of disobeying our ancestors. Secondly, we can't do it. The curse is hidden in our blood. As long as we are natives, we more or less have the desolate god's blood. The stronger we are, the purer our blood. In front of the desolate god's curse, we are powerless. Lu Chen frowned. That's not right. I help you break the curse, and you tell me the location of the Fiend God Lotus Heart? And you're charging me an extra 20,000 spiritual stones. That's too much. Solipsistic, you just said the Fiend God Lotus Heart fragment. You didn't say you only wanted information. Lu Chen was stunned. The saintess meant that if he could help them break the curse, the saintess tribe would help him get the Fiend God Lotus Heart. Solipsistic, I have already told you the effect of the Fiend God Lotus Heart, and you still want to find it. This means that it is very important to you. So, I believe that you won't refuse my offer. I refuse. Lu Chen said directly. I can find it myself. You can't find it. Only we can enter that place. Is it related to the desolate god's blood? Lu Chen asked. That's right. Even if people from the higher heavens come down, they can't enter that place. This time, it was Lu Chen's turn to be silent. If what the saintess said was true, Lu Chen knew that he wouldn't be able to get the fragment in a short period of time. The curse and the fragment were things that both of them wanted. But it just so happened that only the other party could get it. It seemed that it would be difficult for this deal to not go through. Lu Chen took a step back. I won't waste any more time. If I can't get the fiend god Lotus Heart, it's only my problem. But the curse is related to your entire tribe and the fate of all the natives. These two things aren't even on the same level. How about this? Save the 20,000 spiritual stones. Give me an extra 5 million spiritual stones. Also, you need to provide me with all the materials, time, and information. Okay. The saintess smiled with satisfaction. Lu Chen almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The seller agreed so quickly. It usually meant that the price wasn't cut well. He thought that this condition was already very excessive, but he was still cheated. What a profiteer. Chapter 637. The saintess was very satisfied with the result of the deal. She smiled and said, although it's still too early for you to break the curse with your current strength, since you've agreed, then this deal is done. You say that I'm not strong enough? Then why are you talking to me about this condition so early? The saintess stood up and walked to the side, looking out the window. You have to make money when doing business. You can't wait for everyone to see that this is a profitable business. I'm taking advantage of the fact that you're not familiar with the wildlands and you're not that strong. The price now is the lowest. Once you've grown, you'll definitely not agree to 5 million. Lu Chen shook his head. When it came to doing business, he was indeed not an expert. However, he was also a person who understood everything. If I die, then naturally, you won't lose anything. So, your business is definitely profitable. That's right. The saintess tribe was indeed honest. She did not even hide her thoughts. However, Lu Chen just smiled. Actually, even if you don't give me the money, as long as you tell me the location of the demonic Lotus Heart, I might not necessarily not agree to your conditions. The saintess smiled. Money will come back after it's gone. What you're after is the pinnacle of strength. Lu Chen smiled and did not say anything. It was a tacit agreement. In real life, Lu Chen was already a billionaire. Moreover, he was different from other billionaires. No one could replace his position. He was under the protection of the global authorities. Even if he left the Jiotian now, the money would not be used up in a few lifetimes. In the game, earning money had never been difficult for him. The saintess felt that she had made a profit by using 5 million to settle this matter. However, she did not know that Lu Chen did not care about this at all. He was more interested in seeing this so-called origami bloodline curse. Interesting. The saintess smiled. The more you act like this, the more I look forward to your performance. Solipsistic catch. After saying that, the saintess threw a token over. The token had the words, Saintess Tribe, written on it. Show me this token. If you need anything else, you can directly exchange it with the Holy Maiden Tribe's trading officer. We have trading officers in every town. You can ask around and you'll find them. Other than that, no one in the wildlands will dare to provoke you. But you also have to remember that the most terrible thing in the barren land is not people. When you feel that you can defeat a stage 4 domain boss, come find me at the Saintess Tribe. I will tell you about the curse in detail and complete our final deal. Also, don't tell anyone about my identity. Otherwise, I'll kill you with my own hands. After the Saintess finished speaking, she turned her back to Lu Chen and gently put on her veil. Her pleasant female voice returned, "You can leave now." Lu Chen stood up, looked at the token in his hand, and then left the Saintess's room. After traveling for 2 hours, Lu Chen and Shuang Ling returned to their residence. With the money, Lu Chen first booked 2 heavenly rooms. The next day, the two of them went to the town to find the trading officer arranged by the Holy Maiden Tribe and bought a large number of medicinal herbs. After giving these medicinal herbs to Little Green, the only thing left was to wait. On the same day, Little Green refined a batch of medicinal pills to help Shuang Ling recover. Shuang Ling was cultivating in the room when Little Green returned to Lu Chen's room. "Boss, when I went with you to pick medicinal herbs, I noticed something." "What's the matter?" Lu Chen asked. The Saintess Tribe doesn't seem to have many high-level alchemists, so the medicinal herbs they sell are much cheaper than the finished pills. The same is true for the purchase price. The medicinal herbs are cheap, and the pills are much more expensive. In other words, we can buy their medicinal herbs and sell them after I refine them into pills. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Use their medicinal herbs to refine pills and sell them? Are you sure you won't lose money? If it were other alchemists, I wouldn't dare to guarantee it, but I am confident that I won't lose money and can even make a little bit of spirit stones. It doesn't matter if you can't make money. The key is that your alchemy skills have improved. Yes, I've taken a look. The 3 skills of medicine and poison can all be upgraded in this way. However, I need a startup fund to buy the medicinal herbs at the beginning. Lu Chen naturally trusted Little Green. Lu Chen immediately gave the Saintess token to Little Green and gave her 20,000 spirit stones. I don't need so much. Just give me 5,000. It's okay, I don't usually use spirit stones. With this token, you should be safe here and can also buy medicinal herbs yourself. Okay, then when Miss Shuang Ling recovers, I will start. Lu Chen smiled slightly. He didn't expect Little Green to find this loophole. During the few days when Shuang Ling was healing, Lu Chen began to learn about the Divine Tomb's secret realm from Shuang Ling. The entrance to the Divine Tomb's secret realm will open in 20 days, and the entrance will be open for 3 days. After 3 days, the entrance will be closed whether you come out or not. Lu Chen nodded. 3 days should be more than enough to explore a secret realm. However, Shuang Ling still added, Brother Kuang, in fact, I guess that if I can find the information, it means that others can also find it. Maybe this time, the Divine Tomb's secret realm is open, and there are more than the 2 of us. It doesn't matter. Secret realms are like this. Everyone can enter, but it depends on who has the ability to get the things. Have a good rest, and we will set off in a few days. 5 days later, Shuang Ling's physical injuries had healed. In order to ensure Little Green's safety, Lu Chen left Little Green with Little Furball. With Little Furball's protection, the Saintess tribe token, and the protection of the inn, Little Green was almost safe. After the arrangements were made, Lu Chen and Shuang Ling set off. According to the information Shuang Ling had, the location of the Divine Tomb's secret realm was in the uninhabited wilderness. The conditions in the wilderness were particularly harsh. Along the way, there were countless cliffs, swamps, and torrents. The journey was long and it might take 2 to 3 months on foot. They had to ride a mount. Shuang Ling's mount was a 30 to 40 meter long carp with feathered wings. After the fish rose, the surrounding water vapor turned into ice crystals. At first glance, it looked as if it was shrouded in a layer of ice. Shuang Ling, what kind of mount is yours? I don't think I've seen it before. Shuang Ling smiled slightly. Brother Kuang, my mount is very rare. It's an orange mount called the luo fish. It has the body of a fish and the wings of a bird. Its voice is like a mandarin duck. Lu Chen nodded. It looks good. Brother Kuang, what's your mount? Lu Chen thought for a moment and summoned Nine-Winged. A giant dragon hovered in the air, its eyes wide open as it glared at the luo fish not far away. Shuang Ling screamed, Aya, Xiaoguo, what are you doing? In front of Nine-Winged, the luo fish was forced to land. Lu Chen was also a little embarrassed. Nine-Winged really had a bad temper. He didn't even let his friend use his mount. Nine-Winged were on the same side. Don't bully Shuang Ling, Lu Chen glared at Nine-Winged. Nine-Winged felt wronged. It wasn't his fault that others were afraid of him. There was no other way. The luo fish didn't dare to fly. Lu Chen could only pull Shuang Ling to sit on the dragon's head and fly to their destination. Brother Kuang, where did you get this 9-winged celestial dragon? Oh, I synthesized it in the pet dungeon at level 1. Level 1. 9-winged is considered a top mount in level 4. Shuang Ling's eyes widened. Lu Chen thought of the first time he escaped from the demon fortress. At that time, there were 4 or 5 mounts that didn't need to be forced to land. It seemed that 9-winged needed to improve his strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep his position as the strongest mount. 10 days later, the two arrived in the sky above a forest. At this time, there were still 5 days before the Divine Tomb's secret realm opened, but many people had already gathered in this area. What shocked Lu Chen was that there were about 400 to 500 people here, and there were more than 100 mounts. None of them were lower in quality than 9-winged. Without a doubt, those who could have mounts of this level were all super powerhouses. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. It seemed that this trip to the divine tomb might not be easy. Chapter 638. The underground area was a rocky area. Everyone was hovering above the area. On one hand, they were inspecting the underground area. On the other hand, they were guarding against others. The people here were very clear that even if this was not the savage land, they could not rule out the possibility of someone eradicating their competitors in advance. The Divine Tomb Secret Realm was many levels higher than the UUS Secret Realm. The treasures inside were definitely worth fighting for. There are still 5 days before it opens, and there are already so many people. Lu Chen secretly observed these people. In the distance, he saw a few familiar people. Saintis tribe, Kazan tribe. They're here too. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Brother Kwang, once the secret realm opens, everyone will rush in immediately. After entering the secret realm, many people will immediately set up traps at the entrance to obstruct the people behind. So it's important to come here in advance to seize the advantageous terrain. Lu Chen could also imagine this situation. The competition now was not as simple as before. It was a matter of life and death. It was normal to use all kinds of methods. Where's the entrance? I don't know. The news I received is that the Divine Tomb's secret realm opened for the first time recently. That means there's no experience to be used. Everyone is at the same starting line. Lu Chen noticed that many others were hovering at a low altitude. They must be occupying a good position to be the first to rush in when the secret realm opens. They also sent many people to investigate the ground. These people used various tools and treasures to try to find out the location of the entrance in advance. Lu Chen immediately let 9 wings fly high. There was no one in the sky, so it was better to avoid being sneak attacked. Heaven's Eye. Lu Chen suddenly opened the Heaven's Eye on his forehead. Shuang Ling, pay attention to the surroundings. I'll see if I can find some clues. Shuang Ling was already used to it. Solipsistic had too many tricks up his sleeves. Until now, he could still take out things that she had never seen before. Now was not the time to ask questions. Shuang Ling agreed and became vigilant of the surroundings. After opening the Heaven's Eye, the world in Lu Chen's eyes became different from what he saw with the naked eye. The flow of spirit qi on the ground was very strange. In addition to the spirit qi emitted by the plants on the ground, there was also a large amount of spirit qi gushing out from the ground. The amount was far greater than normal. The tomb of the god of sin is right here, but where is the entrance? Wait a minute, there seems to be a pattern to the dispersing spiritual energy. 9 wings fly higher. On top of the flying white tiger, Zhu Hua came to report. Saintis, Solipsistic, and the others have also come. They seem to know that they are not strong enough, so they are flying higher and higher. It seems that they are afraid of being attacked. The holy maiden's clear and resplendent eyes looked towards the horizon. They're here too? He actually knows that the tomb of the gods is open. I reckon they also want a share of the loot. They're right there. That brat actually has a 9-winged heavenly dragon. The subordinate pointed to the sky. The holy maiden looked into the distance and saw Lu Chen and the others. His strength isn't ranked at the top here. Let's focus on the teams of experts. Oh right, tell Halberd and the others to expand their search area. They must find the entrance. The first to grab the entrance will have a better chance of winning. Yes, Saintis. Many teams saw Lu Chen's 9-winged heavenly dragon. Although his mount couldn't be said to be of higher quality than the others, it was still the most eye-catching one. Do you see that 9-winged heavenly dragon over there? Look at how scared he is. He's just flying high up in the sky. If he's so scared of us, why didn't he come here to fight for the treasure? He's flying so high. If the secret realm opens, he'll definitely be the last to enter. Lu Chen didn't know that so many people were talking about him. He was currently carefully observing the direction of the spiritual energy. Only by standing high could he see more clearly. The spiritual energy overflow in the entire area is uniform. I can't see where it's especially abundant. That means it's not the entrance. Lu Chen frowned. After a moment of observation, Lu Chen discovered that the spiritual energy was rising upwards and then being blown towards the southeast by the northwest wind. Everything had spiritual energy, and spiritual energy was almost weightless. It was similar to air. When the wind blew, it would naturally fly in the direction of the wind. After searching for a long time, Lu Chen still couldn't find anything unusual. "Brother Kwang, what are you looking at?" "I'm analyzing the direction of the spiritual energy. Those guys on the ground should be using the same method to try to find the possible entrance to the secret realm in advance. You can even see the spiritual energy. Aya, the wind here is so strong." Shuang Ling's hair was blown into a mess. Lu Chen glanced at Shuang Ling's appearance and smiled. Although her hair was messy, it had a different style. In the next few days, dozens of teams arrived. Lu Chen noticed that some people's mounts landed far away. Those people took a look at the situation here and turned around to leave. It turned out that not everyone who came was strong, but those who stayed were strong. In these 2 days, Lu Chen still didn't stop trying to find the entrance, but he didn't find anything. "Brother Kwang, should we go down? I feel that the wind here is getting stronger and stronger these 2 days." Shuang Ling's hair and clothes didn't stop for a moment. What she was doing now was to constantly tidy up her hair. In the end, she directly froze her hair. "I'm so angry." Lu Chen looked at Shuang Ling's angry look and felt that it was very cute. However, that night, Shuang Ling suddenly pulled Lu Chen's sleeve. "Brother Kwang." "The ice on my hair has been removed." Shuang Ling was shocked. "Has the ice melted?" My ice won't melt. The surrounding water vapor will constantly replenish the frozen state. Something is absorbing the spiritual energy in my ice magic." Lu Chen frowned. "Brother Kwang, if I'm not wrong, we should be looking for the entrance in the wrong direction." Shuang Ling whispered. "At first, we all felt that the tomb of the god of sin must contain a lot of spiritual energy. When looking for the entrance, we would naturally look for the place where the spiritual energy overflows. That's where the entrance is. But there might be something in the tomb of the god of sin that has been absorbing spiritual energy. The wind here might be formed in this way." Lu Chen's eyes widened. Shuang Ling's words made sense. "Brother Kwang, let 9 wings fly higher and see where the wind is the strongest. Then, use your heaven's eye to observe. By the way, don't rise too quickly, or it will attract the attention of others." Lu Chen nodded and let 9 wings quietly climb up. Fortunately, no one paid attention to their 2-man team. They thought that there were too many people and they were afraid of trouble and went higher. At an altitude of 4,000 meters, the wind speed was the strongest. 9 wings had to spread his 9 pairs of wings to maintain balance. Lu Chen immediately let 9 wings fly at the same altitude. Lu Chen quickly opened his heaven's eye. A large amount of spiritual energy was moving in one direction and then quickly disappeared. The entrance. Lu Chen's eyes widened. "Shuang Ling, I really underestimated you. You found the entrance." Chapter 639. The area where spiritual energy was constantly pouring in was most likely the entrance to the tomb of the god of sin. However, in order to prevent others from noticing the abnormality, Lu Chen quickly returned to a height of 2,000 meters and pretended to wait for the tomb of the god of sin to open. Late that night, many people in the surrounding teams were already resting, but there were still many people on night duty. Lu Chen whispered to Shuang Ling, "Shuang Wu, can your ice-type spell seal the entrance?" "Yes, but there are too many experts here. If it's an ordinary spell, it might be shattered very quickly. Unless we have time to set up the ice mirror illusion array and combine it with the mirror illusion, it will take them at least half an hour to break the array." Lu Chen nodded. Shuang Ling's ice-type spell seemed quite powerful. "How long will it take to set up the ice mirror illusion array?" 30 to 40 minutes. Lu Chen frowned. Even if the others did not find the entrance immediately, once the entrance opened, those guys would quickly enter the tomb of the god of sin within a few minutes. Since it's too late to set up the array inside the tomb of the god of sin, we'll set it up outside the entrance. Lu Chen suddenly said, "We've already determined the location of the entrance in advance. If we set up the array near the entrance, we can still delay them from entering the tomb of the god of sin. Set up the array near the entrance first. When the entrance opens tomorrow, inject spiritual energy and let the array take effect. But Brother Kwang, if we set up the array now, others will see it. I'll take you there. Xiao Min, attach yourself to Shuang Ling and make her invisible. A little ghost jumped onto Shuang Ling. Brother Kwang, you have a ghost pet? Lu Chen smiled slightly, then saw Shuang Ling disappear in front of him and nodded in satisfaction. Then, he changed into the black outfit Demon King Descends that the Balrog gave him. At the same time, he left a clone on Nine-Winged and deliberately stood in a conspicuous position. Lu Chen said, Shuang Ling, I'll take you to set up the array. Brother Kwang, if Nine-Winged stays here, how are we going to go up? I'll carry you there. Lu Chen said and hugged Shuang Ling's waist with one hand. Brother Kwang, where are you hugging? Lu Chen was speechless. Now that Shuang Ling was invisible, he wouldn't be able to see it without using his celestial vision. Just now, he had been careless and misjudged the position, causing his hand to drop a little. Your legs are a bit long, sorry. After adjusting his position, Lu Chen spread his wings and soared into the sky. Combat flight. This skill was obtained from the 4 treasure chests in the suboriginator's lair. Lu Chen had never used it before, but now he finally had a chance to use it. Taking advantage of the night, the two of them quickly shot toward the entrance. The closer they got to the entrance, the stronger the wind became. Lu Chen had no choice but to hug Shuang Ling with both hands. At an altitude of 4,500 meters, it was currently nighttime. The people below could no longer see such a distance. Shuang Ling, start setting up the formation. Brother Kwang, the wind is so strong. You hold me tight. Don't worry, I won't let you fall. Lu Chen hugged Shuang Ling tightly. 1.5 hours later, Lu Chen and Shuang Ling returned to Nine Wings. The two of them observed the surroundings and didn't seem to find anything unusual. They just had to wait for the mystery land to open tomorrow. At dawn the next day, no one was resting. All the people searching for the entrance on the ground were recalled. All the teams preparing to enter the tomb of the god of sin were fully alert and ready for battle. Brace yourselves. The mystery land will open before 8 o'clock in the morning, but no one knows the exact time. Once the entrance is discovered, it's likely that all the teams will rush to the entrance. At that time, a fierce battle will be inevitable. Understood, Captain. Check your equipment, status, and elixirs. Always pay attention to the location of the entrance. Anyone who discovers the entrance doesn't need to report to me. You can command your mount to charge. Yes, Captain. Our Kazan tribe must win the treasure hunt in the tomb of the god of sin. Are the array-breaking team and the array-setting team ready? Not only do we have to break the traps left by the people in front of us, but we also have to make more trouble for the people behind us. Hero, we are all ready. An unusually tense atmosphere filled the air. At the same time, Lu Chen had his 9-winged tiger slowly climb up. After 10 minutes, it had flown up 200 to 300 meters. Look at those two humans. They're really going all out. They're retreating further and further away. What can those two do? It's already good enough that they can come out alive. Don't worry about them. Pay attention to the surroundings. The entrance may open at any time. At 7:17 in the morning, there was a sudden gust of wind. Everyone became nervous. This was a sign that the entrance was about to open. The entrance would appear soon. A moment later, the earth shook. Countless air currents rushed into the sky. Even the trees on the ground were uprooted and rushed into the sky. Everyone could feel a strong suction force from above. The holy maiden widened her eyes and looked up. At this moment, a giant dragon was rushing toward the center of the vortex. Solipsistic? Oh no, the entrance is in the sky. Flying tiger, go after it. The holy maiden was the first to react. The flying tiger flapped its wings and rushed into the sky. This guy, he already knew that the entrance was nearby. The holy maiden gritted her teeth. She had underestimated the solipsistic. The holy maiden tribe had already rushed out. The other teams also reacted and chased after them. We'll be in trouble if we overtake the holy maiden tribe and let them be the first to enter the secret realm. Take them down. The people present were not afraid of the holy maiden tribe. Moreover, it was such a critical moment. Several skills were thrown at the flying tiger. The holy maiden frowned. She was not the first. Why were the people behind her attacking them? What was the point of attacking second if they did not attack first? Of course, the others did not think so. The first position was too far away. Moreover, the holy maiden tribe was powerful. If they were allowed to enter the secret realm first and set up a powerful formation, it would not be good news. Holy shield. The holy maiden raised one hand and set up a light shield behind the flying tiger, blocking the attack. Desolate heaven palm, soft fingers. The holy maiden used a skill. Her fingers turned into giant vines and pounced on the team behind her. The opponent clearly had a strong person who resolved the holy maiden's attack. Before they even entered the entrance, they had already started fighting. The holy maiden tribe was not the only one fighting. There were more than 100 teams behind them. It was like 1,000 sails racing against each other. They chased each other and kept exchanging skills. Lu Chen looked at the scene behind him and could not help but be shocked. Fortunately, he had found the entrance in advance. If he was mixed with these guys, it would not be easy to take first place in such a chaotic battle. Not far ahead was the entrance to the black hole. Shuang Ling, the moment we enter, activate the formation. Lu Chen opened his eyes wide. When the dragon head entered the black hole, Shuang Ling shouted, "Ice Mirror Illusion, activate." Chapter 640. The saintly virgin tribe had been slowed down by the others. 4 minutes later, 4 or 5 teams rushed into the ice mirror illusion array. The entrance could no longer be seen, and the surroundings were frozen. Many shadows were reflected on the smooth ice walls. The road was unclear, and many teams suddenly appeared around them. The experts naturally knew that they had rushed into someone else's illusion array. Damn it, that guy actually set up an array outside the entrance. He had already found the entrance. I was careless. I thought he knew he was weak and avoided the competition. Who knew that this guy was so insidious and had been acting all along? Not good. This array seems to be difficult to crack. As more and more people rushed into the illusion array, more and more reflections appeared in the array, making it harder to distinguish between the real and the fake. The saintly virgin was also angered by Lu Chen. It would take at least an hour to break this formation, especially when there were so many enemies around. Solipsistic, you're really ruthless. You don't give us any face at all. In this secret realm, you actually set up such a complicated array. You want to monopolize the treasures in the tomb of the god of sin. The saintly virgin suddenly said loudly, "Everyone, please stop fighting. Now that we are all trapped in the illusion array, it's already very difficult to break it. If we continue to kill each other, I don't know how long it will take to get out. By then, I'm afraid that guy will have already looted the tomb of the god of sin." Everyone stopped as well. Let's break the array first. We haven't even entered the tomb of the god of sin. So what if we win? Okay, let's stop first. Whoever attacks again is a coward. Let's split up and find the array core. Everyone hurry up. Lu Chen didn't expect that their illusion array would make these mortal enemies friends for a short time. Lu Chen and Shuang Ling rushed into the tomb of the god of sin. Brother Kuang, do we still need to set up an ice mirror illusion array at the entrance? Lu Chen shook his head. No need. If they can break the ice mirror illusion array, you can set up another one and break it quickly. This group of people is full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. A small array can only delay them slightly. The effect is not obvious. Since we can't completely stop them, let's hurry up and explore this place. Shuang Ling thought for a moment and sprinkled a piece of ice at the entrance. Brother Kuang, if someone comes in, I will sense it. Lu Chen nodded. Naturally, it would be best if he could obtain information about his opponent. Lu Chen originally thought that since the entrance was in the air, then the mystic realm was also an aerial mystic realm. However, after entering the mystic realm, he discovered that the divine tomb not far in front of him was actually an underground palace. Heaven's Eye. After activating his third eye, Lu Chen discovered that a large amount of spiritual qi was pouring into the pitch-black entrance of the underground palace. Something is absorbing spiritual energy. After so many years, I don't know what it has become. Shuangling, be careful. Shuangling took a deep breath. Ice armor. Lu Chen and Shuangling were instantly covered with a layer of ice armor. Brother Kuang, the ice armor can resist most physical attacks and is immune to water, wood, and dark elemental attacks. However, you have to be careful when you encounter other attacks. Lu Chen finally realized that Shuangling was truly a powerful support magician. Now was not the time to praise Shuangling. The two of them carefully walked towards the entrance of the underground palace. In front of the underground palace stood a stone tablet. Tomb of the Divine King. Robbers must die. This was a warning to tomb robbers. Many tombs had it, but it was obviously not a deterrent. As they entered the underground palace, many torches lit up in the divine tomb, illuminating the entire underground palace. As soon as they entered, Lu Chen and the others were faced with three paths. Lu Chen did not know which one to take. Shuangling released three fluorescent insects, which flew towards the three paths. Shuangling, what are those? Lu Chen asked. Brother Kuang, these are frost worms raised by the Frost clan. They are considered a type of elemental spirit. Your heavens, I can't see through things or turn around. Let them scout for us. Let's wait for a while. They will be back soon. Soon, two frost worms flew back. Shuangling released them again. Brother Kuang, two of the paths lead to dead ends. Let's take the last one. Although dead ends might not necessarily have nothing, the best things must be in the deepest part of the divine tomb. Lu Chen opened his heaven's eye at the same time. Sure enough, the spirit energy was moving towards the path Shuangling had eliminated. I think the last treasure is guarded by something terrifying. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Let's go. After walking for a short distance, Lu Chen found that the three frostworms had stopped and were unwilling to fly forward. There's a trap. Shuangling immediately said. Let me try. Shuangling raised her hands and erected an ice wall in front of the corridor. Suddenly, countless fine silver needles shot out from the surrounding walls. The needles were very thin. In Lu Chen's heaven's eye, they looked like thin lines. There were so many of them that they were densely packed. No wonder the frostworms were unwilling to go over. Even though their bodies were small, there was no way they could safely pass through such a dense attack. Shuangling sensed and said, it's a physical attack from 200 meters away. The frost armor can block it. Brother Kuang, let's hurry over. Shuangling put away the frost worms and took the lead to step into the range of the trap. Lu Chen followed closely behind. The silver needles covered the sky and covered the earth. The frost armor was hit and icicles flew everywhere. At this intensity, even the frost armor couldn't withstand it. However, Lu Chen noticed that the icicles that flew out of the frost armor were quickly absorbed back into the frost armor to fill in the gaps. So it's relying on spirit energy to control and continuously reconstruct the frost armor. That's why it can block these silver needles. If I didn't have such a high physical defense shield like the frost armor, if I wanted to pass through here, only seamless displacement would be effective. After safely passing through the first trap, Shuangling released the frostworms again. The frostworms quickly sent back news that there was a fork in the road ahead. At the end of the fork in the road, there was a coffin. A coffin? Lu Chen frowned slightly. Let's take a look. When he arrived in front of the coffin with the ice worm, Lu Chen was shocked. This place was too big. This coffin was still considered normal. It was about 3 meters long and 1 meter wide. It was slightly bigger than an ordinary human coffin. However, the ground under the coffin had strange runes drawn on it. The rune array was circular, and the radius of the rune array was 100 meters. In the 8 directions of the rune array, there were 8 dried corpses. Bai Zhe, Nine-tailed, Dijiang, the mutated beast Ba, the mutated beast Ho, the mutated beast Tengu, the mutated beast Bai Fong, and the dried corpse of the mutated beast Xingyu. The corpse of a divine beast. In other words, these dried corpses are the true bodies of the divine beasts. Shuangling was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Lu Chen nodded. Remnant souls wouldn't become dried corpses. In the game, players' bodies wouldn't become dried corpses either. Only the real body could become like this. The owner of the tomb of the god of sin is really extravagant. He used these mutated beasts as dried corpses to guard the coffin. No, what's in this coffin isn't the corpse of the owner of the tomb of the god of sin. Maybe it's just his subordinates. That's already so extravagant. Shuangling, step back. I'll go see what's in the coffin. Big brother Kuang, be careful. This seems to be the 8-beast coffin guard. Lu Qin nodded and carefully walked to the coffin in the center of the rune array. Chapter 641. This coffin was clearly unusual. Lu Qin activated the blood sacrifice shield, took out Limitless Sword, inserted it into the gap of the coffin, and pried open the coffin lid. The moment the coffin lid was lifted, a large amount of black mist poured out from the coffin. Lu Qin quickly retreated. Shuangling reacted quickly and pushed out her palms. Ice prison. The coffin was instantly sealed in ice. However, the black mist continued to pour out, filling the entire ice shield until the entire ice prison was filled with black mist. Big brother Kuang, what is that black mist? Shuangling hurried over. Lu Qin frowned. I don't know either, but it doesn't seem like it's attacking me. Shuangling, can you open a hole in the ice prison? I want to see where the black mist is going. Shuangling nodded, took out her long sword, and tapped on the ice prison. A small hole as thin as a needle appeared in the prison. The black mist had a way out and quickly poured out of the hole. Lu Qin's guess was correct. The black mist didn't go after Lu Qin and Shuangling. Instead, it rushed into the depths of the tunnel. Let's take a look at the ice prison. Shuangwu removed the ice prison, and a large amount of black mist poured out, all of it rushing into the depths of the tunnel. Not long after, there was no more black mist in the coffin. Lu Qin pried open the lid of the coffin. A corpse lay in the coffin. Its clothes were tattered, and its bones were incomplete. It was impossible to tell what race it was when it was alive. In front of its chest, there was a strange metal block. Lu Qin picked it up. The system gave him the item's information. Bone core, immortal grade. Extremely rare core material for synthesis. Immortal grade synthesis material? Lu Qin had never seen it before. With the treasure in hand, Lu Qin and Shuangling looked at each other and smiled. They didn't even need to fight. They got off to a good start. Their luck was pretty good. When Lu Qin put away the bone core, the 8 beast corpses around them suddenly fell limp, as if someone had extracted their bones. We've only just entered the divine tomb, and we can already get an immortal-grade synthesis material. Shuangling, we have to speed up. Rhubarb, you come out too. Follow behind the frost worms. Lu Qin summoned Rhubarb. At first, he was worried that there would be too many traps in the tomb of the god of sin. Now that he had confirmed the abilities of the frost worm, Lu Qin could also release Rhubarb. Big brother Kuang, is this also your battle pet? Shuangling asked curiously. No, Rhubarb doesn't know how to fight, but when it comes to treasure hunting, Rhubarb is definitely the best. Big Yellow was definitely the king of treasure hunting, as it was able to get out of the whirlpool just by finding treasure chests. With a flick of frost silk, Rhubarb was also equipped with frost armor. The two of them continued to explore the tomb of the god of sin. They found dozens of coffins as well as some immortal-grade synthesis materials, forging materials, and puppet core materials. Those materials were all extremely rare. Although Lu Qin didn't pay much attention to materials, Lu Qin had seen too many of them in the Empyrean Sect's store, the market held during the League of Legends, the exchange store in the Mercenary City, and even the items sold in the Holy Virgin Tribe. In the past, he would occasionally see immortal-grade materials, but he had never seen any immortal-grade, core, materials for sale. Core materials were the most critical and most difficult to obtain for certain synthesis recipes. During the past half an hour, Lu Qin had obtained more than 50 immortal-grade materials, which was a shocking harvest. If he were to sell those materials, he would be able to get a lot of resources. Tomb raiding is indeed a way to make a fortune. Lu Qin exclaimed, but the strange thing is, I thought that there would be a lot of monsters in the tomb of the god of sin. Are the treasures here all taken so easily? Those coffins took up a large area and were guarded by various divine beasts and strange beasts. In the end, they only emitted some black gas and had no other protective measures. Shuangling said, "Maybe the treasures here are the worst." Lu Chen nodded. That was a possibility. The tomb of the god of sin seemed to be very big. Now that they were in the outermost area, the treasures they obtained must be the worst. The immortal-grade core materials were the worst treasures. What better treasures could there be in there? Lu Chen suddenly became interested. At that moment, Shuangling suddenly said, "Someone else has entered the tomb of the god of sin. I didn't expect them to break the ice mirror illusion array so quickly." Lu Chen frowned. Competitors had appeared. Let's hurry up and follow the direction of the black gas. At that moment, the people of the Holy Virgin tribe rushed into the secret realm. As soon as they entered the secret realm, they were on full alert, wary of the solipsistic sect's traps at the entrance. However, they soon found that the entrance was empty. They have been in for more than half an hour. Don't worry about the people behind, catch up with them. The Holy Virgin ordered and led the team into the tomb of the god of sin. Following that, more teams rushed in. This group of people tacitly stopped wasting time to set up traps. They had been left behind by a lot. Now, the time to delay was not to prevent the people behind from entering the tomb of the god of sin, but to catch up with the solipsistic sect as soon as possible. Damn it, those two guys have gotten so much. Hurry, catch up with them. If we can meet them, it's not a loss to steal their treasures. Group after group of powerhouses rushed into the entrance of the tomb of the god of sin. The battle for the tomb of the god of sin had officially begun. 5 minutes later, the Holy Virgin and the others found the first coffin. At this time, it was a mess. The coffin in the center of the array had been pried open, and the 8 beast corpses around it had turned into powder. The Holy Virgin frowned. They have been here. Hurry, look down. Give up on these small tombs. Whether they have searched these places or not, the treasures are not the best. Go straight to the main road on the 2nd floor. The Holy Virgin's thoughts were clear. If they wanted to catch up with the solipsistic sect, they had to give up on these small tombs. Holy Virgin, the spirit detector has detected traces of spiritual energy flow here. The type of spiritual energy is death aura. They passed by here about half an hour ago. The Holy Virgin nodded. Continue tracking. If they can find the entrance in advance, they must have a way to track the flow of spiritual energy. As long as we follow the flow of spiritual energy, we can catch up with them. Although the other teams had been shaken off by Lu Chen's group, there was an advantage to being at the back. They could see the traps that Lu Chen had triggered. Just like the silver needles from before, there were a lot of silver needles scattered on the ground. There were also the remains of the ice wall, so it was easy to identify. In addition, Lu Chen's group had explored dozens of small tombs before. Although they did not waste time fighting, they still needed to draw out the black aura to get the treasures. In this way, Lu Chen's group's advantage was not enough to let them rest easy. Lu Chen was also very clear about this point. Now, he had given up on exploring the small tombs and went straight to tracking the death aura. No matter how many small objects there were, they could not compare to the best treasures. Rhubarb told Lu Chen that there were treasures on the left side of the road. Lu Chen marked the location on his personal map. If those guys are bent on catching up with us, maybe we can find some treasures when we come back. Brother Kwang, it seems to be the entrance to the 2nd floor. Lu Chen nodded. The 2nd floor, be careful. Chapter 642. As soon as he entered the 2nd floor, he was greeted by several black shadows. 3,000 body flicker slash. Lu Chen immediately activated his skill, and his figure jumped between the shadows. Immune, immune, immune. After 11 consecutive attacks, these shadows were actually unharmed. Immune. Lu Chen frowned slightly and immediately used his spiritual energy to attack. Lightless Sky Flame Pillar. These shadows died quickly after being hit by the Lightless Sky Flame Pillar. However, a moment later, the shadows split into 2 and charged toward Lu Chen again. Are they unkillable? Shuangling frowned and said, "These should be undead creatures. Death is equivalent to rebirth for them. And from the looks of it, they can also absorb the spiritual energy that they've endured and duplicate another shadow. Lu Chen was a little depressed. Killing them would only increase their numbers. How was he supposed to fight them? Brother Kuang, these shadows feel similar to the black gas that overflowed from the coffin. Let me see if I can imprison them. Ice imprisonment. Shuang Ling quickly activated her skill, and the ground quickly froze and extended upward, sealing the surroundings in ice. In the long ice wall in front of them, there were already more than 20 shadows sealed. They were all baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, looking ferocious, but they couldn't move. Lu Chen had to admit that ice mages were really strong when it came to controlling abilities. Shuang Ling, how long will it take for your ice imprisonment to be lifted? Up to you. As long as I have enough spiritual energy, I can keep the ice pillar up, and I can also lift it in advance. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment before saying, then lift the ice seal first. But they're very hard to kill. Lu Chen's lips curled into a smirk. Yes, it's because they're hard to kill that I can make good use of them. Shuang Ling seemed to already know what Lu Chen was going to do. Brother Kuang, you have to be careful. Their attacks may have some special effects. These things have been in the tomb of the gods for thousands of years, so their damage isn't low. Lu Chen nodded. Don't worry. Shuang Ling lifted the ice seal, and the 20 shadows pounced toward Lu Chen even more angrily. Lightless sky flame pillar. Man Luo heavenly certificate. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice. The ghost shadow's HP was very low. If it was hit by these two skills, it would be instantly killed. Of course, they did not care about being instantly killed. On the contrary, every time they died, they could create a clone, and their HP would increase. In this way, the number of ghostly shadows rapidly multiplied under Lu Chen's instant kills. Over 40, over 90, 200, 400, 800, 1,600. Put him to death. Dragon blood boiling. 6 divine transformations. Lightning elemental attack change. Lu Chen held the limitless sword in his hand as he roared, Great Ravager Sweep. Fighting these ghostly shadows, Lu Chen actually directly used the 6 divine transformations. Under God level 6, the damage of thunder elemental attacks would be doubled. Lu Chen converted normal spirit chi attacks into thunder elemental attacks and could obtain the effect of doubling thunder elemental attacks, increasing the damage by another level. A large amount of sword chi swept out, and wherever it passed, the ghostly shadows were instantly killed. However, they quickly revived and created even more ghostly shadows. There were more than 10,000 ghostly shadows, and their HP had increased from a few million to 30 to 40 million now. Lu Chen was also a little unable to farm anymore, and there was not enough time. Frost Damask. Frost Damask hurriedly activated her skill. Ice Shackle, cold of heaven and earth. With a boom, all the water vapor in the air instantly solidified and connected. The entire area was directly frozen. In this frozen world, countless ghostly shadows bared their fangs and brandished their claws as if they were about to break out of the ice. Lu Chen pulled Frost Damask and led Rhubarb through this area quickly, hiding in the dark. 5 minutes later, a group of familiar figures entered the second floor as expected. The people from the Saintly Virgin tribe had already chased them here. The two of them were just a few minutes apart. Just as they arrived at the second floor, they were attracted by the huge ice wall in front of them that almost completely blocked the entrance. And what's this? There are so many undead sealed inside. It's solipsistic and the rest who did it. At this moment, another group of people came to the second floor. This group of people was about 7 or 8 people, and the leader was a middle-aged demon. He glanced at the people from the Saintly Virgin tribe and snorted coldly. We still caught up to them. But soon, they also noticed the ice wall. This ice wall was left behind by the first person who entered the tomb of the god of sin. The spiritual energy flow is clear, and the surrounding spiritual energy is active. It seems that they just passed through here not long ago. We finally caught up to that kid. Lu Chen and Frost Damask hid in the dark and quietly observed. At this time, there were already 2 groups of people passing through the ice shackle, and the third group had already come down from the first floor. Frost Damask. It's now. Release the seal. The ice wall instantly shattered into countless pieces of ice. Coupled with the fact that the ghostly shadows inside never gave up struggling, the hundreds of meters of ice wall instantly shattered into ice shards. More than 10,000 ghostly shadows regained their freedom. It was impossible for them to find Lu Chen and Frost Damask, but they could find the Saintly Virgin and the rest. This is, the seal was released in advance. Solipsistic and the rest are nearby. Damn it, this guy actually tricked us. What a sinister guy. Not good, these ghostly shadows will revive after being killed, and their numbers and strength will increase. We can only trap them. But they found out too late. Lu Chen had only encountered about 10 ghostly shadows in the beginning, and each of them only had a few million HP. Now that they were in the middle of tens of thousands of ghostly shadows, it was easier said than done to seal all of them in one go. Some of them had even been hit. Not good, their attacks have strong corrosion. Chongshan. One of them saw that his companion's arm was rapidly eroding, and the corrosion was still spreading upward. He raised his sword and directly chopped off his companion's entire arm. These 3 groups were all experts. Logically speaking, they should be able to control the situation quickly. But unfortunately, more and more groups entered here. They had just come down and did not know anything. Naturally, they would kill the ghostly shadows when they saw them. As a result, there were more and more ghostly shadows, and they were getting stronger and stronger. The strongest ghostly shadow's HP had already exceeded 200 to 300 million. The entire entrance to the second floor was a mess. A large number of people were attacked by the ghostly shadows. If they did not amputate their limbs in time, their lives would be in danger. Lu Chen did not expect that the unremarkable ghostly shadows would gradually become so strong. However, his plan had worked. The ghostly shadows could trap this group of people for a while. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Hey, I told you not to kill the ghostly shadows. Don't you understand? Think of a way to control the ghostly shadows. The more we kill, the stronger they get. If we continue to kill, we will really be killed by the ghostly shadows. The people behind, don't kill the ghostly shadows. Damn it, I'm going crazy." The current situation was somewhat out of control. The number of ghostly shadows had reached hundreds of thousands. Even though there were countless experts here, facing so many ghostly shadows, they were also exhausted. Solipsistic. You despicable person, don't let me find you. It's that person who tricked us? This guy is too despicable. I want to kill him. Shuang Ling could not help but look at Lu Chen. Brother Kuang, they seem to be very angry. Lu Chen smiled. What's there to be afraid of? Let them play with the ghostly shadows. Let's continue. Let's go. This time, we'll go directly to the most important treasure. Chapter 643. A large number of ghostly shadows appeared on the second floor of the underground palace, but they were only in the form of shadows. Along the way, Lu Chen killed ghostly shadows, increasing their numbers and strength. Then Shuang Ling used ice spells to control them and waited until they were far away before unsealing them. Lu Chen and the others gave up on the treasures on the second floor and went straight to the third floor. The opponents behind them had to face a large number of ghostly shadows. They were delayed and their progress was slow. Woof woof woof. Just as Lu Chen and Shuang Ling were rushing to the third floor, Rhubarb suddenly barked. Lu Chen frowned slightly and looked at a fork in the road ahead. What's wrong with Rhubarb? Shuang Ling asked curiously. It said that there's a small tomb at the end of this road. It's a little different and there are a lot of treasures inside. Lu Chen frowned. Although he had caused a lot of trouble for the Saintly Virgin tribe along the way, it was normal for those experts to be confused when they encountered ghostly shadows for the first time. If they encountered ghostly shadows again, they would definitely not be so disorganized. If they went to explore that small tomb, perhaps the time they had won would be overtaken. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly turned his head and looked behind him. Shuang Ling, be careful. Rhubarb, come back. Suddenly, the walls in all directions were smashed through. Nearly 20 beast-headed creatures jumped out from the walls. These creatures were about 3 to 4 meters tall and had taut muscles. There were goat heads, bull heads, horse heads. The first thing that came to Lu Chen's mind was, bull heads and horse faces? But no matter what they were, from their eyes, they didn't seem to be friendly. They held all kinds of long weapons and quickly surrounded Lu Chen and Shuang Ling. Trespassing into the tomb of the god of sin is a crime punishable by death. A bull monster said in a deep voice. Lu Chen stared at these monsters. Obviously, they wouldn't be as easy to deal with as the ghostly shadows. Are you demons? Lu Chen asked. We're tomb keepers, not any race. You trespassed into the tomb of the god of sin, so our duty is to kill all of you. It wasn't easy to be number one. Along the way, not only would they have to be the first to face all sorts of traps and mechanisms, they would also be the first to encounter all sorts of monsters. Big Brother Kuang, the tomb keeper in the divine tomb, is very powerful. Be careful, Shuang Ling said. Lu Chen took a deep breath. He estimated that after this battle, he would not be able to keep his first place, but he had no other choice. Pulling out the limitless demon god sword, Lu Chen entered the state of demon god symbiosis. Godly demon limitless sword? The bull-headed man actually recognized the sword in Lu Chen's hand. Array formation. 18 earthly fiend beast soul formation. The 18 beast-headed monsters quickly moved and stood in their respective positions, ready for battle. Shuang Ling quickly enchanted Lu Chen's equipment. Ice weapon. Frost armor. Lu Chen and limitless sword were surrounded by an icy mist. Ice weapon. Attacks will cause the enemy's movement speed to decrease. After 3 consecutive hits, the enemy will be frozen. Frost armor. Takes effect after being attacked, causing the enemy's attack speed to decrease and casting speed to decrease. The effect can be stacked up to 5 times. Frost Dance had once enchanted Lu Chen's weapons, but she could only enchant long-range bows, while Shuang Ling's strength was stronger. She could enchant melee weapons and armor. Coupled with the previous frost armor, Lu Chen's current defense was very strong. Worthy of being a super support. Lu Chen nodded to Shuang Ling. Suddenly, the beast-headed men launched an attack. The 18 beast-headed men moved quickly. Their speed was so fast that it was difficult to capture their figures, and even more difficult to lock onto a specific unit. Speaking of which, this should be the first time Lu Chen encountered a high-level battle array. It was different from the general array. The array was dead, and the array could be broken by breaking the array core. The role of the battle array was to improve the overall strength, allowing the people in the battle array to exert more than the simple addition of everyone's combat power. Lu Chen had many skills, but because he couldn't lock onto the target, he couldn't find a breakthrough for a while. He could only use group attack skills first. Lightless Sky Flame Pillar. Black Coffin Dead Zone. Man Luo Sky Certificate. Mountain Splitting Strength. Among the 4 skills, Black Coffin Dead Zone and Man Luo Sky Certificate were directly immune, while Heavenly Flame Pillar and Mountain Splitting Strength were easily dodged. Black Coffin Dead Zone is related to death energy. It's not difficult to understand that they are immune to it, but why are they immune to the poison attack of Man Luo Sky Certificate? Lu Chen thought for a moment and thought of a possibility. These guys' bodies were no longer their original bodies. These bodies should have undergone some kind of special treatment to be able to be preserved for such a long time. Simply put, these guys should be zombies. Thinking of this, Lu Chen quickly changed his attack type. Maybe it was because he had watched too many zombie movies in the past. Zombies might be afraid of thunder and lightning. Change to thunder and lightning attack type. Heaven's Eye. Now Lu Chen had to lock onto the opponent's units and break them one by one to break this array. Suddenly, a sharp spear turned into a silver light and pierced Lu Chen's Heaven's Eye. Now is the time. Triple Door. Lu Chen quickly dodged and landed less than 2 meters away. Then, he formed a claw with one hand and shouted, "I'm just waiting for you to make your move. I'm all ears." A strong pulling force came from Lu Chen's palm. He had successfully locked onto the attacker's body and was about to pull it out of the beast soul array. But at this moment, several silver lights pierced toward Lu Chen's vital points. In the battle array, When one person was attacked, help came from all directions. Damn it. Lu Qin gritted his teeth. He had no choice but to give up on listening and quickly dodge. When Lu Qin looked back, a silver light flashed from Shuang Ling's side. Someone was attacking Shuang Ling. I'm all ears. Lu Qin grabbed with one hand and pulled Shuang Ling to his side to avoid the attack. At the same time, he held Shuang Ling with one hand and said, "Follow me." Encountering the 18 Earth Demon Beast Soul Array, Lu Qin had a headache and could only deal with it for now. A quarter of an hour later, the first batch of competitors appeared around the corner. The people who came were not from the Saintly Virgin tribe. This team only had 7 or 8 people. At this time, when they saw the battle not far ahead, they immediately stood in place to observe. Is it that solipsistic? They seem to be trapped by something. Should we? One of them raised his eyebrows at his companions. His meaning was self-evident. This was the best time to kill the solipsistic. No, the ones surrounding them should be some kind of tomb keeper of the tomb of the god of sin. I've read in an ancient book that the tomb keeper's duty is to protect the tomb of the god of sin. Anyone who enters the tomb of the god of sin is their enemy. So, if we kill the solipsistic at this time, we will become their new target. Remember, our primary mission in the tomb of the god of sin is to seize the treasure. Let them delay the tomb keeper while we go find the most important treasure. The group passed directly in front of Lu Qin and the others. The tomb keeper was focused on dealing with Lu Qin and the others at this time and did not stop them. You're the solipsistic, right? Weren't you very sinister before? Thinking of ways to trick us, now it's your turn to fall for it. There are no great opportunities in the tomb of the god of sin. Do you think you can get the treasure just by being first? Dream on. Oh, the tomb keeper is very difficult to deal with. Thank you for stepping on the mine for us. Ha! A few people laughed wildly as they passed by. Lu Qin was also depressed. You'll have to pay for it sooner or later. Chapter 644. After a few waves of people passed by, each of them more sinister than the last. No one dared to attack Lu Qin, afraid that the tomb keeper would target them. Isn't this Brother Du Quang? The Saintess had also arrived. Aya, you look like you're having a hard time. You must be hard to deal with. Previously, these people had a deep grudge against Lu Qin. Now that they finally saw Lu Qin stumble, although they did not kill him, they would feel aggrieved if they did not make a few sarcastic remarks. I originally wanted to help you, but unfortunately for Guiying, you made us too miserable. 2 of my subordinates have lost their arms, so we don't have enough manpower. You can slowly fight here. If I manage to snatch the treasure and search through the other levels of the underground palace, and you're still alive when I come back, I'll save you. I'm still counting on you to complete our deal, so don't die. Lu Qin did not have the time to pay attention to the Saintess' sarcastic remarks. He needed to focus on dealing with the 18 Earth Fiend Beast Soul Array. Within the array, Shuang Ling whispered, Brother Quang, this array is so powerful. They broke my ice imprisonment. They had already tried to use ice imprisonment earlier, but it had not worked. Don't worry. Since we're no longer in first place, we might as well deal with it peacefully. Lu Qin took a deep breath. The difficulty of this array was that it could not lock onto its target. By rapidly changing positions, it could easily cause Lu Qin to lose his target. Furthermore, Lu Qin's area of effect skills could also be dodged. On the other hand, the array's attacks were not particularly sharp. At the very least, Lu Qin could dodge them. So, the key to this array is high evasion. If I keep defending, I'll definitely lose. If I can't hold on, I'll still lose in the end. Lu Qin's mind raced. At this point, he could only take a risk. Several silver lights flashed out and went straight to Lu Qin's body. Lu Qin let go of Shuang Ling. This array is hard to break from the outside. It must be broken from the inside. Be careful. Triple door. After saying that, Lu Qin charged into the enemy's array. When he entered the enemy's battle formation, he immediately fell into the trap of being besieged. A large number of attacks rained down on Lu Qin. It was like a soldier charging into the enemy's defensive line, and the enemy would kill him at all costs. As a result, no one cared about Shuang Ling anymore. The heavens I gave out a lot of warnings, covering almost all the routes. 9 void steps. Lu Chen took 3 steps in a row. Under the influence of the 9 void steps, all of these attacks were greatly offset. Amidst the chaos, a large deviation in one's moves could result in the injury of one's companions. At this moment, the movement of the battle formation indeed slowed down. Of course, it was only slow in comparison. Lu Chen had to rely on the Heaven's Eye to lock onto the enemy, and the locking time was also extremely short. Less than half a second was the key to determining the outcome of the battle. 3000 body flicker slash. Lu Chen quickly locked onto one of the tomb keepers. The 3000 body flicker slash had 11 normal attacks, and each normal attack had 5 consecutive hits. Even if he was immune to poison attacks, Lu Chen could still deal 55 hits. Minus 29. 2 million, double critical hit. Minus 35. 4 million, triple critical hit. Minus 27. 7 million, double critical hit. Just as Lu Chen dealt the 3 hits, a figure suddenly replaced Lu Chen's target. Damn, in my 3000 body flicker slash, it can directly replace my target? Lu Chen was shocked. No wonder he could not lock onto the target. The 18 Earth Beast Soul formation had such an effect. However, Lu Chen suddenly realized that the unit that was replaced with low HP was actually standing still. It's the effect of the ice weapon. That guy is frozen. Since that was the case, Lu Chen naturally would not hold back. With a normal attack, he killed it instantly. At this point, Lu Chen finally tore a hole in the 18 Earth Beast Soul formation. The Tomb Keepers also reacted quickly, and they quickly attacked together. 9 void steps. Lu Chen used the same trick again. Using the attack deviation, he forced the opponent to reduce their movement speed. Once again, he locked onto another person. With 3 hits, he froze it and then killed it. As more and more holes appeared in the Beast Soul formation, the power of the formation greatly decreased. Next, Lu Chen became more and more skillful. When he could lock onto the opponent's unit, it was very easy to kill the Beast Head Man, Infinite Grace Release. Lu Chen's figure quickly shuttled between the remaining Tomb Keepers. Wherever he passed, he was killed instantly. When the last Bullhead Man fell, Lu Chen let out a long sigh of relief. It's finally done. The corpse of the Tomb Keeper on the ground gradually turned into black gas and flew toward the entrance of the 3rd floor. The Bullhead Man's body was also disintegrating. He looked at Lu Chen. You can actually break the Beast Soul formation? Unfortunately, you can forget about leaving alive. Not a single one of you can think about leaving alive. It will tear you all apart. After saying that, the Beast Head Man finally turned into black gas and rushed toward the depths of the underground palace. Shuang Ling looked at Lu Chen in surprise. What does it mean? Lu Chen thought for a moment. Probably there is an extremely powerful creature in the underground palace. However, since there is a treasure in the tomb of the God of Sin, it is inevitable that there will be a powerful creature guarding it. Since we are here, we should all be prepared. Shuang Ling, I have consumed a lot of energy. Let's go and see if the treasure on the other side of the fork is still there. Are we not going to chase them? Shuang Ling asked. No, I have thought it through. It is too bad to be first. Let them be first. The tomb of the God of Sin has been open for 3 days, and this is only the first day. I believe that no one will be able to get the treasure until the end. It is a blessing in disguise. It is not certain who will have the last laugh. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you get the treasure. Shuang Ling was a little ashamed. At the beginning, as long as Solipsistic accompanied her to the tomb of the God of Sin, the other treasures would belong to Lu Chen. She only wanted one. Although no one knew if the treasure was the one Shuang Ling needed, generally speaking, the last treasure should be the best. It was related to the fate of the Frost race, so it should be the last treasure. Brother Quang, if you can help me get the treasure, the Frost clan will remember it for generations to come. Lu Chen smiled slightly. You and your sister are my friends. Why are you saying this? Besides, the treasure is not in my hands yet. There are too many masters here. I can only do my best. Yes, I know. Let's go and see if the treasure Rhubarb said is still there. The two walked to the location indicated by rhubarb. This was a tomb with a large area. There was a huge talisman array on the ground, and there were 108 mutated beast corpses around, each standing in the eye of the array. In the middle of the array, there was a coffin. Behind the coffin, there was a golden treasure chest. Damn, if it weren't for the fact that everyone is in a hurry to get the first place, such a big treasure chest would have been gone. Lu Chen swallowed. This chest was bigger than the 4 chests in the base of the suboriginator. He did not know what was inside. He checked it with his sky eyes and found that there was still a weak flow of spiritual qi in the array. After thousands of years, there was no injection of spiritual qi, but this array still had a slight effect. One could imagine how powerful this array was when it was set up. The owner of this tomb is really strong. How many mutated beasts did he capture to be buried with him? Lu Chen shook his head and carefully approached the coffin. A standing coffin just couldn't allow him to sleep peacefully. He had to be careful. Chapter 645. Shuang Ling was already on standby, ready to seal the coffin at any time. After Lu Chen finished his preparations, he pried open the coffin lid. The moment the coffin lid was pried open, a large amount of black gas gushed out of the coffin. It was abnormally turbulent. Shuang Ling. Lu Chen hurriedly turned around and motioned for Shuang Ling to act. Ice imprisonment. Shuang Ling immediately acted. The two of them had cooperated many times. Logically speaking, there was almost no gap between the two of them. However, this time, the black gas was too turbulent. The speed at which it gushed out was extremely fast. Even the water vapor needed time to freeze. Before the ice imprisonment took effect, a gust of black gas still wrapped around Lu Chen. Damn it, this thing doesn't attack people. Lu Chen was complaining when his mind suddenly became chaotic. Then he lost consciousness. When Lu Chen opened his eyes again, he found that he was in a unique space, and a female human was standing in front of him. This woman was graceful, elegant, and elegant. Especially her eyes, which were as clear as water. They reminded Lu Chen of the saintess. Where is this? A whirlpool? Lu Chen held his forehead. He was at a loss. The woman smiled. This is your consciousness. As for me, I am just a remnant consciousness left behind by the first saintess. Lu Chen was a little confused. His brows were still furrowed. In the 4th heaven, you still need to rely on the connection of your consciousness to enter the 9 heavens. However, I used some methods to intercept your consciousness. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying. This? Alright, I think I understand. The woman shook her head. I didn't expect to meet a human. If you weren't a human, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to communicate. Since the woman had intercepted Lu Chen's consciousness, the translation software naturally couldn't be used. Lu Chen stood up and looked at the woman warily. You want to communicate with me? What do you want to tell me? The woman looked at Lu Chen quietly. I want to give you a mission. Ah? Mission? Lu Chen asked, puzzled. Yes, of course. My mission is different from the missions you've encountered in the past. This is a personal request, not a hidden Jiutian mission. Of course, you can also think of it as a hidden mission. In essence, there's not much difference. Help me fulfill my wish and I will reward you. It's that simple. Lu Chen took a deep breath. What if I don't agree? Are you going to trap me here? This? It's been a long time since I've met someone I can ask for help from. Soon, my remaining consciousness will dissipate. Logically speaking, since I've met you, I should ask you to help me fulfill my wish no matter what, but I don't like to force people. If you're not willing, I'll let you go now. Lu Chen looked at the woman who called herself the first saintess in surprise. Previously, the current saintess had told him that the desolate god had many women, and the one he doted on the most was a woman from the human race. It seemed that it was this woman in front of him. Needless to say, this woman's appearance was flawless. However, there were too many beautiful women in the Jiutian, each with their own merits. The reason why this woman could be so deeply loved by the desolate god was probably because of her aloof personality. The more ambitious a person was, the easier it was for him to be conquered by such a simple woman. All right, tell me what you want me to do for you. Lu Chen asked. Release the war soul of the flesh-water immortal. Please set him free. Lu Chen frowned. The war soul of the flesh-water immortal? There are a total of 2 immortal supremes buried in this tomb of the gods. The desolate immortal and his mortal enemy, the flesh-water immortal. The desolate immortal is the desolate god that everyone talks about. He's also my husband. You know too little about the difference between immortals and gods. It's inevitable that you'll call him by the wrong name. You should have noticed that after the tomb of the gods appeared, it constantly absorbed the surrounding spiritual qi. Even the death qi inside the tomb of the gods all rushed to the bottom of the tomb of the gods. The desolate god is accumulating strength. He's preparing to revive. But because his obsession was too deep when he died, he can't reach the strength of immortal supremacy after his revival. He'll only become a terrifying monster. I don't care what he'll become. I just hope that the flesh-water immortal can let go of his obsession and enter the reincarnation cycle again. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Thousands of years ago, there seemed to be some love and hatred between the 2 immortal supremes and this beautiful woman. Could it be that the desolate god was cuckolded? Could it be that some of the desolate god tribe today were the descendants of the flesh-water immortal? Lu Chen was too embarrassed to ask this question. The task was more important. How do I release the flesh-water immortal? What reward will you give me after I release the soul? There's a hairpin in the grave behind me. Once the desolate god awakens, the flesh-water immortal will also awaken. I'll take you to another tomb of the gods. After you find the flesh-water fighting soul, show him this hairpin. I think he'll understand. Remember, even if the desolate god fighting soul is no longer as strong as a immortal supremacy, your strength is still far from it. You must find the flesh-water fighting soul and leave the rest to him. As for the reward, if you can complete the task I give you, then the treasures of the 2 tombs of the gods will be your reward. Lu Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. This fairy's business acumen was pretty good. It was a completely empty-handed business. But then again, the reward was still very tempting. With his own strength, Lu Chen would need extraordinary strength and incredible luck to stand out among the many masters. But if he could find the flesh-water immortal's fighting soul, no one would be able to compete with him. Not only could he get the treasures of the desolate god's tomb, but he could also get the treasures of the flesh-water tomb. Okay, I promise you. But I still have a friend. Can you take her with you? I'm sorry, child. My consciousness is already blurred. After teleporting a person, I will dissipate. So, your friend will have to stay here. However, I can guarantee her safety for 3 days. Lu Chen shook his head. Shuang Ling was indeed a competent support mage. She was of great help to him. Without her, he would have to face much more difficulties alone. However, the saint's consciousness said that he could not teleport. He could only take a gamble. Okay, then please ensure her safety. When I come back, she must be in good condition. Yes, before the tomb of the gods closes, the demons in the tomb will protect her. She will be fine. So that's how it is. Lu Chen was relieved. Take me to the flesh-water tomb. Shuang Ling hugged Lu Chen's body, anxious to the point of tears. Suddenly, Lu Chen's body disappeared from her hands. Before Shuang Ling could react, the illusion of a woman appeared in front of her. Your friend is helping me with the mission. For 3 days, you must avoid other tomb explorers. You will be absolutely safe in the tomb of the gods. The demons here will protect you, and the traps will not be triggered. The woman waved her hand, and 18 beast-headed tomb keepers appeared beside Shuang Ling. They stood behind Shuang Ling like 18 bodyguards. However, you can't use them to attack others. I'm only ensuring your safety. I didn't say I would help you get the treasure. Remember this. Who are you? Shuang Ling was shocked. Who I am is not important. What's important is that I hope your friend can complete the mission. With that, the woman's illusion turned into dust and scattered in the air. Chapter 646. Standing in front of a small tomb again, Lu Chen had a golden hairpin in his hand. This should be the hairpin that the first saintess mentioned. This time, there were no more competitors behind him. He was probably the only one who could come to the Lochwater tomb. The Lochwater tomb was not as dark as the desolate god's tomb. It was surrounded by flowers and grass. Rhubarb, come with me. Let's go in and see the tomb of the Lochwater god. Since almost no one could find the entrance to the Lochwater tomb, Lucian did not encounter any traps along the way. There were no small tombs in the tomb. There was only a large road. From the structure of the tomb, I feel that Lochwater is indeed much more open than the desolate god. At least he didn't have those things. The desolate god was licentious. It's normal that the first saintess didn't like him. Lochwater looks much more upright. If I were a woman, I would choose Lochwater too. Rhubarb, did you find any treasures? Rhubarb shook his head. Let's keep going. At the same time, Xuangling was leading her new subordinates to look for the treasure chest behind the first saintess. There were a large number of immortal core materials, common rare materials, rare herbs, and even an immortal martial art. I don't know when Brother Quang will come back. If he can't find these treasures in time, then Brother Quang will suffer a great loss. I have to help him find more treasures. After putting all these treasures into her backpack, Xuangling thought for a while. Most of the other teams should have gone to the third floor. It would be best if she did not meet them. There were still many places on the first and second floor that she had not explored yet. There were still many treasures there. All right, let's search floor by floor. There should be a lot of fish that escaped the net. Returning to the first floor, Xuangling was carefully searching every fork. Some of them had already been taken away by others. However, those people did not have the time to search for all the treasures as they did not want to be left too far behind. This made Xuangling very lucky. She had nothing else to do. She carefully searched every small tomb and found more and more treasures. At around 9 o'clock at night, the torches on the walls of the desolate god's tomb were all extinguished. Xuangling, who was looking for coffins, was shocked. Her 18 tomb keepers surrounded her, but they didn't seem to have any vitality, as if they had entered a state of hibernation. Looks like we won't be able to continue exploring today. Xuangling stopped what she was doing and sat down to rest. On the fourth floor of the Divine Tomb, the top teams were competing for the ranking of the treasure hunting teams. Along the way, everyone had seen that the treasures were almost at their fingertips. Then, wouldn't the ultimate treasure also be so easy to obtain? At the very least, they had to ensure that their team's position wouldn't be left too far behind. Only when they found the treasure would they have a chance to fight for it. However, the surrounding torches were suddenly extinguished, and the entire underground palace was pitch black. Someone took out a lighting tool, but the range of the light was too small, and it would not last long before it was extinguished by the airflow. Saintess, what should we do now? The Saintess' eyes were particularly bright under the candlelight. Let's wait for a while. There are traps everywhere in the underground palace. After the fourth floor, there will be more and more demons. It's too dangerous to act rashly now. We'll continue exploring when the torch is lit again. However, some teams wanted to widen the gap between them and others while others were resting. Not far away, a few screams were suddenly heard. Someone must have fallen into a trap. The people of the Kazan tribe snorted. Don't you know that haste makes waste? What an idiot. Let's rest here. And Tai Minju, take some people to be on guard. Don't let your guard down. The others are more dangerous than the Divine Tomb. Yes, sir. The moonlight shone through the open skylight. Lu Chen was lying in a herb garden, enjoying the fragrance of the herbs. If Yi Shui is not a pharmacist, then he must be a very sentimental person. He even designed a herb garden in the tomb. The skylight above his head should have been designed to let the herbs bathe in the sunlight, but now it became Lu Chen's comfortable bed. Although Yi Shui's tomb doesn't have any miscellaneous things, it's still very stylish. The scale is huge, just like a maze. I can't earn all of it in one day. Let's rest here first. Just as Lu Chen was about to fall asleep, a rustling sound came from the herb garden. Lu Chen looked at the source of the sound and found a pair of small eyes peeking at him from the bushes. He jumped to his feet and looked at the guy in horror. Who are you? A human child walked out from the herb garden. He looked about 4 or 5 years old. His clothes were tattered, but he looked like he was carved out of jade. Who are you? The child stared at Lu Qin. Why are you lying in the herb garden? You'll crush some herbs. I'm a tomb raider. So what if you're a tomb raider? Get up. Lu Qin was stunned by the child's imposing manner. He stood up involuntarily. Of course, it was mainly because he was in the wrong. Everyone was responsible for caring for the plants. The child carefully examined the plants that had been pressed down by Lu Qin. Look at you, this heart-burning grass has been pressed down by you until it has no vitality. Are you a human or a ghost? Lu Qin stood aside. I'm a medicine boy here, the child said angrily while carefully handling the plants in his hands. I have to collect them as soon as possible. Otherwise, the efficacy will be reduced by more than 70%. It's all your fault. Of all places to sleep, you had to sleep here. These precious herbs, I've taken care of them for thousands of years. You ruined them. Lu Qin frowned. You've been here for thousands of years? Why are you still a child? TSK, I didn't say I'm still alive. The child said disdainfully. Lu Qin took a deep breath. This answer was a bit domineering. Hey, stinky brat, since you can come to the tomb of Master Yi Shui, you should have gotten the approval of Sister Saintess. These herbs have no chance to play their role here. Now they're being crushed by you. I'll collect them and you can take them out. Lu Qin felt strange being called a stinky brat by a child. However, listening to the medicine boy's words, Lu Qin was overjoyed. The Yi Shui divine tomb was extremely poor. The only thing he could find were these herbs. Originally, Lu Qin was troubled because he didn't know how to collect herbs. He could only collect them casually, which would inevitably destroy the efficacy of the herbs. Now that the medicine boy was here, he didn't have such worries. There's such a good thing? Lu Qin stood aside and watched the medicine boy carefully collect the herbs. Each of them was extremely careful and attentive. He even said something to them as if he was bidding farewell to his family. Little Dragonbeard, you've grown up. Whether it's an immortal pill or an ordinary pill in the future depends on what kind of alchemist you meet. Deathflower, you're the one who loves to show off. Now you've been crushed by that blind stinky brat. However, I'll keep your medicinal properties. As for what kind of pill you can refine, it'll depend on your luck. Suddenly, Lu Qin felt a little sad. This medicine boy had been here alone for thousands of years. He had no one to talk to. In his world, there was only this herb garden. All the herbs had become his friends. He had been alone for thousands of years. Chapter 647. Hey, medicine boy, senior. The word, senior, was said with clenched teeth. In any case, the other party was a few thousand years old. Calling him senior was not a loss. Why are you in the divine tomb? The medicine boy was still carefully processing the herbs. He just casually replied, I used to be the ghost pet of Master Yi Shui. After Master Yi Shui died, I have been accompanying him. Master Yi Shui was afraid that I would be bored, so he sold his equipment and bought a lot of herbs. Thus, this herb garden was created. Lu Qin was somewhat moved. Yi Shui was so good to his ghost pet? In other words, if one day he was going to fall, he should not treat little Green and Xiaomin unfairly. Although Lu Qin had never seen Yi Shui, nor heard of any of his achievements, from other people's mouths, he seemed to understand more and more about this expert from thousands of years ago. The medicine boy was busy for a long time. After collecting some of the herbs, he looked up at Lu Qin and said, These herbs are too precious for your current level. For the time being, you can't use them. Wait until tomorrow, I will process them again. This way, you can store them for a long time. Thank you. By the way, what is your alchemist level? I didn't learn. Lu Qin was a bit embarrassed. He was a beginner in life skills. There was only a 6-star refiner in the panel, and he had forgotten about it. What? Didn't learn? Alchemists are required to learn, okay? Even if it's the most common healing medicine, the qi-generating pill, the cost is also much lower. I also have a ghost pet. She knows alchemy and is now an 8-star alchemist. You are really a hands-off shopkeeper. If you can be lazy, then be lazy. However, I am a bit surprised that an 8-star alchemist is willing to be your ghost pet. How is her talent in alchemy? It seems to be immortal level, called 1 in 10,000. Immortal level. You brat, your luck is too good. Well, it seems that these herbs will not be wasted for you. Lu Chen thought for a moment. Hey, you have been here alone for so many years. How lonely. See if you are interested. No. Do you want to poach me? Impossible. I will not leave Lord Bai Shui. Lu Chen shook his head helplessly. The medicine boy of a venerable immortal indeed had a personality. It seemed that he was not that easy to poach. At this time, it was already the latter half of the night. Lu Chen sat beside the herb garden and meditated. Since there was no one else here, he directly activated the celestial demon symbiosis and cultivated the celestial demon origin cultivation technique 5 times faster. After activating the divine demon symbiosis, the surrounding black and white energy waves fused together, creating a world of primordial chaos. A massive amount of primordial spiritual energy poured into Lu Chen's body, causing his spiritual energy to crazily increase at a rate of 5 points per minute. Hey, what kind of mental cultivation method is this? The medicine boy looked at Lu Chen strangely. I'm not telling you. It looks a little special. It seems to have caused a bigger disturbance than Master Ji Shui's purple water of the East Sea. Your current state is the 9 transformations of gods and devils? Lu Chen suddenly stopped cultivating. You know about the 9 transformations of demons and gods? Of course I do. Who doesn't know about the 9 transformations of demons and gods? It is the number 1 forbidden technique in Jiutian and also the foundation of the celestial demon set. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Although there were people who recognized his 9 transformations of demons and gods, no one knew more than this medicine boy. He actually knew about the celestial demon set. You know about the celestial demon set? Then do you know about the parts of the celestial demon set? Also, what else do you know about the 9 transformations of demons and gods? The medicine boy sat cross-legged beside Lu Chen. If not for the fact that he was a spirit pet, he really would have looked like a child. Then I don't know. If everyone knew about it, how could it still be the number 1 forbidden technique? The medicine boy said leisurely. However, I do know that the power of the celestial demon set is extremely terrifying. However, the difficulty of obtaining it can only be said to be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. It is said that once you complete the celestial demon set, you are no longer alone. No longer alone? Then what is it? I don't know either. Lu Chen almost vomited blood and died. Why did it feel like he was being scolded? Hey, I also heard that you seem to be walking on the path of defying the heavens. In Jiutian, the coexistence of demons and gods is a great taboo. You are destroying the balance of Jiutian. You are using your position to challenge the rules of the entire Jiutian. Lu Chen sneered. What celestial demon set? I am me. I do good things and I do bad things. Moreover, what you think of as a good thing might be a bad thing in the eyes of others. No, you don't understand. It doesn't matter whether you become a demon or a god. In fact, it is just to make you give up your position and make you compromise. Lu Chen looked at the medicine boy in surprise. This little fellow knew quite a lot. I will not compromise, Lu Chen said calmly. The medicine boy turned his head and looked meaningfully at Lu Chen. What are you looking at? Is there something on my face? The medicine boy turned his head. By the way, are you here to look for Master Fei Shui? The medicine boy's voice suddenly weakened. Yes, the first saintess asked me to look for him. She said that only Fei Shui could defeat the Aragami war soul. The alchemy boy sighed. The people of Lochwater knew that the Aragami had been planning to be reborn. However, what the Aragami did not know was that no matter how hard he tried, he would never be reborn. The thing that would be reborn would not be him. It would be a monster. What about Fei Shui? The resurrected Master Fei Shui is no longer Master Fei Shui. It is just his war soul. It is for the thing that will stop the Aragami war soul from existing thousands of years later. Lu Chen frowned and took out the first saintess hairpin. Does he recognize this hairpin? The medicine boy looked at the hairpin and nodded. Yes, Master Fei Shui left this message in the war soul's consciousness. Lu Chen nodded. Looks like Fei Shui and the first saintess had already set up a chess game. Lu Chen noticed that the medicine boy's mood had suddenly become very low. He asked curiously, "Hey, why are you suddenly so depressed?" "Nothing." The medicine boy turned around, not letting Lu Chen see his expression. "Just tell me, there is no one else here." Lu Chen nudged the medicine boy with his shoulder. "If you don't tell me now, you won't have the chance when I leave." The medicine boy pouted and thought for a while. It seemed to make sense. After this annoying guy left, he would have no one to talk to. In the past, other than these herbs, I could occasionally visit Master Fei Shui. However, after this war, the medicine boy lowered his head and sobbed. Lu Chen finally understood. It seemed that after this war, the Fei Shui war soul would also disappear. The medicine boy's most respected person would completely leave him. Unfortunately, Lu Chen could not help the medicine boy in this matter. He refused to leave, and the desolate god fighting soul was not something that Lu Chen could deal with. He had to rely on the Fei Shui war soul. After a moment of silence, Lu Chen suddenly said, "Hey, you said that you occasionally visit Master Fei Shui. Can you take me to find the Fei Shui war soul tomorrow? The underground palace is too big and I always get lost." The medicine boy's eyes were still filled with tears. He looked at Lu Chen with disgust. "You rascal, I am talking about such a sad thing and you only heard that I occasionally visit Master Fei Shui? Can you be any lazier?" Lu Chen shrugged and smiled. Anyway, I can't help you. Why don't you use some of your remaining energy to help me? Why don't you have any empathy?" "I don't have empathy, but you do. Then all the more you should help me and fulfill Master Fei Shui's last wish." "I have never seen such a shameless person. Now you have seen it." In the underground palace, Lu Chen and the medicine boy quarreled with each other, and it was particularly lively. However, the argument did dilute the medicine boy's depression. Chapter 648. I will never help such a shameless person like you. The next day, the medicine boy processed the herbs and brought Lu Chen to look for the Lochwater fighting soul. "If it wasn't for Lord Lochwater's wish, I would never bring you there," the medicine boy said angrily. Lu Chen smiled and followed behind him. With a guide, things became much simpler. "Hey, can you hurry up? The desolate god's tomb will close in 3 days. I have to rush back to the depths of the desolate god's tomb. It will take time to go back and forth." I know. The Celestial's underground palace is huge. It's normal that you can't finish in 1 or 2 days. Follow me closely. Do you have many movement skills? Not many. The medicine boy finally found a chance to take revenge. He smiled sinisterly. Hee, then follow me. Don't blame me if you lose me." After saying that, the medicine boy's speed suddenly increased. His movement speed was comparable to rapid movement. The medicine boy was moving normally. In other words, he could maintain this speed. If his movement skills were not enough, he would definitely lose him. Lu Chen smiled faintly. "Put him to death. Dragon's blood boil." His HP dropped rapidly, and his skills cooldown was close to 0. 7 stars chasing moon. The medicine boy looked at Lu Chen strangely. "What kind of movement skill is that? Why doesn't it have a cooldown?" Hee, I'm not telling you. Tisk, it's nothing compared to Lord Lochwater's 1,000 steps wave treading. As they bickered along the way, Lu Chen's speed did not slow down. The 2nd floor of the underground palace, the 3rd floor. Finally, they reached the 9th floor. In the 9th floor of the underground palace, there was only one tomb. The floor was painted with complicated runes. In the center of the runes sat a mummy. The mummy sat cross-legged in the middle of the runes with its head lowered. Lu Chen opened his heaven's eye and found a small amount of spiritual energy in the surroundings. It flowed into the mummy through the runes, and there was also spiritual energy flowing in the mummy. This thing was still alive. "Lord Lochwater, Tong Tong is here to see you." The medicine boy looked sadly at the mummy. However, the mummy did not respond. Lu Chen asked curiously, "Are all fighting souls in the form of mummies?" No, this body is a puppet created by Master Ji Shui using his own body as a vessel for the battle soul. The Aragami's war soul might not be a mummy. Lu Chen nodded. Why is he ignoring you? The war soul is not the entirety of Master Ji Shui's consciousness. It only has part of his fighting skills and strength. Master Ji Shui told me not to come here often because he was afraid that the war soul would hurt me. Lu Chen heaved a sigh of relief. This mummy was the spiritual sustenance of the medicine boy, but in the end, it was just a puppet who did not know who he was. All right, you go and show him the hairpin. Be careful. Lu Chen nodded and walked towards the mummy. When Lu Chen got close to the mummy suddenly opened its eyes. The pair of eyes had completely dried up, and the optic nerves had turned into strips that resembled tree roots. They were connected to the withered eyeballs, and just looking at them made one's hair stand on end. The mummy's throat let out a dry groan, and its figure instantly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Lu Chen. Its withered arms were already in front of Lu Chen. However, at this moment, it stopped. Lu Chen was already covered in cold sweat. Was this the strength of an immortal prime war soul? He did not even have time to react. It was too terrifying. All the techniques and skills. If he did not even have time to react, what was the use of being strong? The speed of the Ji Shui war soul had far exceeded the limit of Lu Chen's reaction. The Ji Shui war soul stopped and slowly took away the hairpin that Lu Chen held in front of him. That pair of eyes that did not have a trace of moisture showed that it was thinking hard about something. The first saintess asked me to bring this to you. The Aragami's tomb is open, and that guy is about to wake up. You have to come with me. Ji Shui raised his head slightly, and some deep-rooted memories were awakened. The ferocious expression on his face finally calmed down. Ji Shui turned around and pressed one hand on the center of the talisman array. A coffin rose from the ground. He opened the lid of the coffin, took out a blue and red bead, and threw it to Lu Chen. Inside the bead was a translucent blue liquid. There was a red liquid wrapped in the middle, and it looked a little like blood. Obtained item, black ice divine blood. Lu Chen frowned slightly. What was the meaning of this? Was this Ji Shui's reward for him? What was this thing for? However, now was not the time to think about this. Lu Chen finally breathed a sigh of relief. The first part of the mission was finally completed. How are we going to enter the Aragami's tomb? Lu Chen suddenly thought of this problem. There was no saintess tomb here. Ji Shui carefully put away the hairpin and faced the void in front of him. He fiercely struck out with his palm. In an instant, the entire underground palace shook and was on the verge of collapse. Suddenly, a black hole portal opened at the spot where Bai Shui had attacked. It had always been Lu Chen who shocked others. However, after seeing Ji Shui's strength, Lu Chen was completely shocked. This guy actually created a portal with a single strike. This is too strong. The Ji Shui fighting soul gestured at Lu Chen toward the portal, indicating for him to enter. Lu Chen took a deep breath and took the lead to step into the portal. The Ji Shui fighting soul followed closely behind. In an instant, only the medicine boy was left in the Ji Shui divine tomb. He looked around blankly. Lord Ji Shui, when you fought in the past, you would never leave me behind. The medicine boy lowered his head sadly. After thousands of years of loneliness, even Lord Ji Shui was gone. The guy who bickered with him was also gone. There was only him and his herb garden left. Lord Ji Shui said that his fighting soul would not recognize him and would not protect him. As a ghost pet that only knew how to grow and care for herbs, it was very dangerous outside. Looking at the portal that was about to close, the medicine boy suddenly raised his head, gritted his teeth, and rushed in as well. Medicinal ingredients are just like people. If they are unable to erupt with the most brilliant radiance, then in the boundless nine heavens, what difference is there between them and dust? Lord Ji Shui, Tong Tong will accompany you in this final battle. Lu Chen finally returned to the desolate god's tomb. Looking at the tomb, the Ji Shui fighting soul was stunned. There was only a day and a half before the tomb closed. Time was tight, but Lu Chen still waited patiently. Ji Shui growled and looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen nodded. Let's go. Time was tight. Lu Chen immediately teleported and rushed into the tomb. The people in front of him had almost triggered all the mechanisms. Unless he encountered something like a ghost, Lu Chen could boldly sprint all the way. When he reached the third floor, Lu Chen strangely found that most of the ghosts had disappeared. Right, they will protect Shuang Ling. Oh right, where is Shuang Ling? Chapter 649. On the third day, which was also the last day of the desolate god's divine tomb, Lu Chen and the Lochwater fighting soul quickly rushed to the deepest part of the tomb. On the seventh floor, Lu Chen finally met Shuang Ling. Shuang Ling. Lu Chen hurried over. Why are you here? Didn't I ask you to wait up there? Shuang Ling was happy to see Lu Chen, but she was a little scared when she saw the Lochwater fighting soul behind Lu Chen. Brother Kuang, what's that? It's so scary. Lu Chen had no time to explain. He just said, it's okay, he won't hurt you. Shuang Ling saw that the Lochwater fighting soul had no intention of attacking her, so she answered Lu Chen's question. Brother Kuang, it's okay. As long as we don't meet other teams, I'll be safe. Now that they've reached the 8th floor, I guess they'll enter the 9th floor soon. I took advantage of the few days when you weren't around to search for treasures in the small tomb. I found a lot, and my backpack isn't small anymore. As she spoke, Shuang Ling pushed over a trade window and was ready to give all the treasures to Lu Chen. Lu Chen immediately canceled the trade. Shuang Ling, now's not the time. I don't have much time left. I have to hurry to the 9th floor. On the 9th floor of the divine tomb, there were already 3 or 4 teams rushing down. As the last floor, after coming down from the 8th floor, they saw a huge stone door in front of them. It was ajar, and there was a cold current flowing into the tomb from the crack of the door. After 2 days of competition, the top few teams all had super powerhouses overseeing them. At this moment, when everyone saw their competitors, they immediately reached a stalemate in front of the door of the 9th floor. Saintess, others may be afraid of you, but I'm not. I've reserved all the treasures here. A tall and strange-looking dragon human race man shouted sternly. The Saintess was not a pushover, and her aura was not weak at all. This is the desolate god's tomb. It should be explored by my Saintess tribe. You guys are just tomb robbers. What a joke. The Aragami have been passed down for thousands of years. How much of the Aragami's bloodline is left in your body? Another tall and skinny demon sneered. Do you think it's yours just because you say so? If you want the treasure, you'll have to rely on your own abilities. That's right. The tomb of the gods is open to the outside world, and not only to you descendants of the Aragami. This means that the treasures here can be obtained by anyone. The man of the divine descendant clan said, speaking of bloodline, which ancestor of the divine descendant clan is not a powerful figure? Then all the opportunities in the 9 heavens will belong to the divine descendant clan. Don't talk nonsense. Isn't it just a fight? Hurry up and do it. Once I get the treasure, my chances of success in the 5th celestial layer will increase. Everyone here was an absolute expert of the 4th celestial layer, and the treasure was right behind the door. At this moment, no one would give face to the other. Not long after, 2 more teams broke through the encirclement and entered the 9th level of the divine tomb. The situation began to become abnormally chaotic. Right at this moment, a horrifying roar suddenly came from the half-closed door in front of everyone. That voice was definitely not the voice of a human. It was heart-wrenching as if it came from the depths of hell. Hearing this roar, the faces of the experts in front of the door did not change. There's something inside. The ghost shadow, tomb keeper, and mechanical puppet from before did not let out such a shrill cry. That thing's voice is unusually crazy and fanatical. It's not a good time to fight. Let's see what's inside first. When everyone stopped fighting, the huge stone door in front of them slowly opened. There was only one extremely spacious room from the tomb. There were no forks in the road, and no other small tombs. There were 9 thick stone pillars around the tomb, each of which had a huge chain tied to it. The other end of the chain was tied to a black shadow. The team that had just come down saw the scene in the 9th level of the tomb from afar, and they were all stunned. What kind of monster is that? Was that the voice just now made by this guy? Why is there a living thing here? The black shadow frantically struggled to break free from the 9 chains on its body, and the chains clanked as they shook. Then the second chain, the third chain. Soon, that guy would break free from all the chains. At that moment, someone saw the coffin beside the blurry black shadow. That was the only coffin on the 9th level. If there was a treasure in the tomb of the god of sin, it must be in that coffin. When they came to the tomb of the god of sin, they naturally thought that there might be a powerful creature guarding the treasure. Now it was even more proven. Suddenly, 2 figures moved quickly and went straight for the coffin behind the monster. That thing is restrained by the chains on its body. Now is the best time to seize the treasure. The treasure is ours. The treasure of the tomb of the god of sin. Hee, you cowards. Watch us brothers from the mountainside seize the treasure in front of your eyes. However, no one expected that when the black blurry monster sensed that someone was approaching, it roared as if it had gone mad. Then that thing pulled fiercely, and the iron chain on one of the stone pillars was directly broken. It waved the chain in its hand, and a gust of wind was stirred up. The mountain demon brothers who took the risk out of desperation did not even have time to react. Both of them were directly cut in half by the iron chain. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes were filled with shock. The mountain demon brothers were the super powerhouses of the mountain demon tribe. They were once the reserve great heavenly generals of the mountain demon tribe. Although they were not the top powerhouses here, they could be ranked in the middle. It was also because they were confident in their own strength that they dared to seize the treasure in advance. However, such super powerhouses did not have time to react or dodge under that guy's casual attack. They did not even have time to make a sound before they were cut in half at the waist. What the hell is that thing? It killed the mountain demon brothers like it was a game? No way. With the strength of the mountain demon brothers, they were squashed to death like ants. That guy can't be the desolate god? The combat strength of a celestial prime. Oh my god, it's over. That's not something we can deal with. At that moment, everyone finally realized what kind of terrifying monster was guarding the treasure of the desolate god's tomb of the god of sin. However, with the treasure in front of them, no one was willing to give up. Although this thing was powerful, it might have other weaknesses. Just like the chains on the stone pillars, all of them were broken. 9 steel chains that were 100 meters long merged with that thing's body. It looked like that guy had 3 heads and 6 arms. At that moment, a large number of tomb explorers suddenly rushed into the entrance of the 9th level. These people did not enter the 9th level normally. Instead, they were forcefully sucked into the 9th level by a force. When they reached the 9th level, they all staggered. When they stood up, their faces were filled with surprise. The saintess squinted her eyes slightly. Seeing the team of an aboriginal tribe, she asked, "Zay, why are you all here?" Perhaps the saintess tribe had a good relationship with the Zay tribe. Zay stood up and nodded slightly at the saintess. "We don't know. We were fighting at the entrance of the cave when we were suddenly sucked in by a huge force." "Saintess, that guy? What is that guy?" Zay looked at the black shadow in the tomb chamber and asked with his eyes wide open. The saintess shook her head. "He just killed the mountain demon brothers. If I'm not wrong, he should be the desolate god's fighting soul." "What? The desolate god's fighting soul?" With a loud bang, the huge stone door behind everyone suddenly closed. Chapter 650. Lu Chen and Shuang Ling were at the outermost part of the 8th floor. All of a sudden, a gust of wind blew. Even Lu Chen could not stand still due to the strong pulling force. At that critical moment, the loathsome war soul grabbed onto Lu Chen so that he would not be swept away. However, Shuang Ling could not escape. The 18 tomb keepers around her were blown away into dust, and she was swept away quickly, disappearing from Lu Chen's sight. "Shuang Ling!" Lu Chen was furious, but it was too late. Soon the gust of wind stopped. Lu Chen looked around but could not find any trace of Shuang Ling. Loathsome war soul, what took Shuang Ling away? Lu Chen asked anxiously. The loathsome war soul could not speak, but it was pointing at the end of the tunnel. Lu Chen did not know where it was pointing. Right then, he heard a voice behind him. Hey, you brat, hurry up. The Aragami war soul has completely awakened. It took your friend away. Lu Chen turned around in surprise. It was the apprentice that had spoken. That guy had followed him. Lu Chen did not have time to ask. He knew that the loathsome war soul could not be weak. Shuang Ling was in grave danger. Lu Chen was anxious. Now that he knew where Shuang Ling was, he hurried toward the end of the tunnel with the loathsome war soul. The stone door had been sealed and could not be opened. Everyone had an ominous premonition in their hearts. Pull everyone here and seal the exit. This guy, could it be that he wants to kill us all? That guy. Everyone, stay alert. Get ready for battle. The aura of death from the coffin is gathering here. I think it is replenishing his energy so that he can break free from the 9 iron chains. That guy's strength is unfathomable. The group of people who had been ready to fight against each other were forced to gather together to fight against that powerful creature. All kinds of battle pets and puppets were released. Many fields and seals were stacked. Everyone was ready for battle. At this time, as long as one wasn't an idiot, they should know that they didn't need to use their special skills. Everyone was going to die here. In a corner, Shuang Ling stared at the black monster. There were also 2 corpses on the ground that had been split in half. Both of them died with their eyes wide open. To be able to kill 2 people so easily, the strength of this monster was evident. At this moment, Shuang Ling suddenly rejoiced that Lu Chen had not been sucked in. Perhaps after the battle here ended, she would have a chance to obtain the supreme treasure here. She took out the sound transmission talisman, but the sound transmission talisman was unable to transmit sound to the outside world. It could only record sound. Brother Kuang, I haven't told you what the Frost tribe is looking for. Now, I don't even know if I can get out alive. If you can find the black ice divine blood, go find Sister Shuang Wu. Our Frost tribe will remember your kindness for generations. Leaving behind a simple sentence, Shuang Ling brought out the ice seal barrier. It's an ice mage. Someone immediately noticed Shuang Ling. Hey, little girl, aren't you the girl who was with Solipsistic? Sigh, forget it. Now is not the time to talk about this. Your control of ice magic is strong. Go to the front. Shuang Ling nodded and went to the front of the few teams. The Saintess looked back at Shuang Ling and immediately recognized her. Hey, come here. Ice magic has always been one of the strongest support spells. If we lose this time, none of us will be able to leave alive. I hope you can help us as much as you can. Shuang Ling nodded. I know. But if we kill this guy, the final treasure, shouldering the mission of revitalizing her family, even if a disaster was imminent, Shuang Ling was still thinking about what she was looking for. Now is not the time to talk about this. If people die, everything will be in vain. Shuang Ling knew that the united front was only temporary. Even if she won in the end, the others would not let her have the treasure. She had to play it by ear. Facing hundreds of super-powerful warriors, the Aragami was not afraid at all. The chains on his body seemed to be alive, dancing on his back. No one could tell what race the Aragami's war soul was. No one could tell if he was a human or a ghost. There was a long roar. It was as if the roar had traveled through thousands of years. In the long river of time, the roar had become empty and soulless. What was left was perhaps just an obsession to kill. Instantly, the rage god's war soul moved. His speed was so fast that it was unimaginable. Before anyone could react, he was already standing in front of an abyss rock monster puppet. He grabbed its neck with one hand and crushed the abyss rock monster puppet that was made of special rock. The chains on his back were swung and several mythical beast battle pets were killed. Blood splashed. The Aragami's war soul bathed in the blood, enjoying the feeling of blood falling on his body. Perhaps, this could remind him of the feeling of being alive. All of you will sacrifice for me. The Aragami's war soul said in a very loud voice. One punch. The space in front of the Aragami's war soul was shattered. All the territory and enchantments were ineffective. Not only did the territory fail, but the person who activated the territory was also injured. What kind of monster is this? Oh my god, this is the Aragami's war soul. Celestial Prime? It's over, it's all over now. The tomb of the gods is a trap. He wants to sacrifice us. Shuang Ling spat out a mouthful of blood as she stared at the Aragami's war soul. On the 8th level of the tomb of the gods, the Lochwater war soul let out a low roar. Ugh, Lord Lochwater said that he doesn't have much time left. He wants you to hurry up. Lu Chen was sweating. He was already fast enough. Brother, why did you stop me just now? We are going to kill the Aragami. We should hitch a ride. The potion boy shook his head. Although there is a big gap between them and the real Celestial Prime, they are still much stronger than you. In a battle of this level, how can they let the other side get the upper hand? Hitching a ride is suicide. Lu Chen thought about it and agreed. Forget it. The entrance to the 9th level is just ahead. Hurry up. They finally reached the 9th level. Lu Chen and the others were blocked by the stone door in front of them. The stone door was locked, and there was no entrance. Lu Chen tried to break the stone door, but he failed several times. Lochwater War Soul, can you break this stone door? Lu Chen asked anxiously. The potion boy said, yes, but you better break it yourself. Lord Lochwater and the Aragami's strength are on par. Moreover, the Aragami becomes stronger by absorbing the death chi, while Lord Lochwater's strength is decreasing. This battle is going to be a fierce one. This stone door is made of heaven-mending black stone. To break it, you will need to consume a lot of spiritual chi. It's best not to let Lord Lochwater consume too much of his spiritual chi. Lu Chen almost collapsed. In other words, he had to break the stone door himself? At this moment, liquid was seeping out from the bottom of the stone door. Lu Chen looked down, and his heart suddenly shrank. The viscous liquid that was flowing out from the crack of the door had the smell of blood. Needless to say, the Aragami's war soul had begun his massacre in the stone door. Damn it! Burning with anxiety, Lu Chen's eyes emitted a green mist. Celestial demon symbiosis. Place of death. Dragon blood boiling. 3 lives reincarnation. Buddha body transformation. 3 heads and 6 arms clone. Void-shattering attack. Lu Chen had been forced to use all his trump cards in front of the stone door. He had adjusted his condition to the limit. The only thing that was useless was the celestial might and the demonic might. Chapter 651. In front of the Aragami's war soul, more than half of the elites had been killed. The scene was filled with corpses that were cut into pieces by the iron chains. Too strong, we can't get out of here. Why is there an existence that is stronger than the celestial domain boss in the 4th heaven? This doesn't make sense. It's been a few thousand years. What do you mean by reasonable? Stop talking nonsense, heal us. At this time, Shuang Ling was standing behind the Saintess tribe. She was enchantment on the weapons of the others. At the same time, she was using ice control spells to restrict the Aragami. Now, she was the main force controlling the Aragami's war soul. Ranged players, don't stop. The 9 iron chains on that guy can block most of the attacks. However, the slowing effect is still effective. When the Aragami rushed to the front of the group, Shuang Ling quickly summoned an ice wall. The ice wall was instantly broken. However, in that short period of time, those people had already retreated far away. The Aragami's war soul's attacks were all blocked by the ice wall. One should know that its speed was already faster than a human's reaction speed. However, that ice elemental mage was always able to cause trouble for it at the critical moment. The Aragami finally turned its head and looked at the woman. That pair of withered eyes were filled with killing intent. Shuang Ling could not help but take a step back. However, the hope of the Frost Clan's rise was behind this guy. If she did not meet Lu Chen, she would have to face all of this. Shuang Ling stopped retreating. She gathered her courage and looked directly at the Aragami's war soul. The Frost Clan will never retreat. Shuang Ling murmured, even if I have to pay with my life, I will never give up. That was the mission of the Frost Clan's remaining descendants. Shuang Ling, be careful. Everyone, protect Shuang Ling. She is our only hope to survive. the saintess shouted. However, the saintess only focused on the origami's war soul. She did not pay attention to what was behind her. Suddenly, Xuangling moved her sword finger. The blood on the ground condensed into a blood-colored ice spike. The arrow pierced into her heart. When the saintess saw that, she was shocked. "Miss Xuangling, what are you doing?" Xuangling looked at the maiden sage with a desolate expression. Tears of blood flowed from her eyes. "If Brother Kuang comes, please don't let him see me like this, okay?" The holy maiden was shocked. There were too many things that she did not know. She did not know that Lu Chen was outside the door at this moment. She did not know that Lu Chen had brought along the fighting soul of the rage god with him. She also did not know what Xuangling would become next. "You said Solipsistic is here? Will he come to save you?" "He will." Xuangling's eyes became extremely clear, and the corners of her bloody mouth curled up slightly. "I believe that he will. It's just that I hope he doesn't see what I'm about to do." Blood flowed out of Xuangling's chest, following the blood thorns. Suddenly, the blood stinger shattered, and an ice-blue six-legged beetle crawled out of the hole in his chest. When this insect appeared, a biting cold aura erupted from Xuangling's body, instantly exploding throughout the entire 9th floor of the tomb. The air in the entire 9th floor of the divine tomb froze, and the blood on the ground instantly froze. The holy maiden looked at her hands in shock. Her hair was covered in ice, and she seemed to feel that the blood in her body was about to freeze. This is the mystic ice holy beetle. Those who were lucky enough to survive were all frozen in just a few seconds. No one was spared. However, they were only frozen and did not receive any injuries. With her chest broken, Xuangling's face gradually turned pale, and her eyes lost focus. She just looked into the distance without meeting her eyes. "Brother Kuang, I'm sorry. I lied to you. I'm not a full-time support. I was afraid that you were a person with evil intentions, so I did not tell you the truth. Forgive me. For the Frost clan, I hid this from you." This woman who carried the fate of her clan carefully lived alone in the 4th heaven. How could she easily trust anyone? "Until I saw you heal me, until I saw you risking your life for me, until I saw you sleeping beside my pillow, I really hope that I can accompany you for a while longer." The mystic ice holy beetle crawled along Xuangling's collar and into her mouth. A heart-wrenching scream was heard. In an instant, Xuangling's bright eyes turned white. The muscles on her face bulged and were covered with blue lines. Her originally peaceful face became extremely ferocious. She did not look like a human being at all. Then, ice spikes of different lengths pierced out of her body. From her abdomen, 2 pairs of arms stretched out. The holy maiden who was closest to Xuangling saw the whole process with her own eyes. She was still shocked. The mystic ice holy beetle was an extremely rare goo worm. When it lived in the heart, it would greatly increase the host skill damage, ice affinity, reaction speed, and other attributes. Therefore, only Xuangling could block the desolate god's war soul in advance. However, if the mystic ice holy beetle was allowed to enter a person's brain, the situation would be very different. It would take over the host's consciousness and body, and its strength would instantly soar. However, the current Xuangling was no longer herself. Xuangling walked step by step towards the desolate god's war soul. With every step, ice lotuses would form under her feet. Around her, the water vapor in the air froze, as if ice flowers were blooming in the air. The madness in the desolate god's eyes did not diminish. Instead, it became even more fervent. He said in a stiff tone, "Insect race? I like it." No one knew if the insect race that the desolate god was talking about was Xuangling herself or the transformed Xuangling. However, everyone already knew that the battle between the 2 powerful beings was about to begin. The 9 iron chains behind the desolate god moved, and Xuangling was summoned from all directions. However, Xuangling did not dodge. When the iron chains hit the ice barrier around her body, these iron chains that were made of unknown materials shattered like ice. "Mystic ice spell, ice dragon," Xuangling shouted. The desolate god's feet were covered by ice pillars, and it could not move for the time being. Countless water vapor gathered around, and the ice on the ground flew up, forming a huge amount of ice spikes. They formed a huge ice dragon and rushed towards the desolate god. Countless ice spikes crazily collided with the desolate god's war soul, and the body of the 100-meter-long ice dragon shattered layer by layer. The entire 9th floor of the divine tomb was covered in an endless ice storm. The holy maiden's eyes were wide open. She did not expect Xuangling to be the strongest person here. However, in order to obtain such strength, she must have paid an extremely heavy price. Could Xuangling, who was in the form of the mystic ice holy beetle, defeat the desolate god? The 100-meter-long ice dragon was destroyed, and the desolate god had been attacked countless times. However, there was not a single trace of blood on its withered body. Although the mystic ice holy beetle was strong, it did not seem to have any effect on the desolate god's war soul that did not have blood. After suffering a series of heavy injuries, the desolate god's war soul knelt on one knee with its head lowered. That guy lost? Everyone was extremely nervous. Now, whether the treasure was a treasure or not was secondary. They would be thankful if they could make it out alive. However, at this moment, the desolate god's war soul suddenly raised its head and let out a shocking roar. I'm going to kill you. Sword breaks the 6th Tao, burial deity. No one expected that although the desolate god did not have a sword in his hand, he could use sword will. A black light flashed, and the speed was incredible. People could only judge from the huge hole in Xuangling's chest that there was indeed a sword that had pierced through Xuangling's body. With a thud, Xuangling knelt on the ground. Was the desolate god's war soul really so terrifying? Brother Kuang. In Xuangling's eyes, life gradually disappeared. Chapter 652. Outside the door, Lu Chen was in his strongest state, unleashing the void-shattering triple attack. The stone door made a loud noise, and a crack appeared on the wall. At that moment, he realized that the blood that seeped out from the bottom of the stone door had all been frozen, and a chill that could penetrate the bottom of his heart was surging out. The only ice magician in the door was Xuangling. Xuangling. She's still alive. It's just that the temperature is a few times lower than the ice magicians she used before. Not long after, the stone door shook a few times, and Lu Chen's heart was in his throat. Oh no, if Xuangling's spell works, the origami will definitely kill her first. Damn it, spiritual energy storm. Lu Chen did not have time to think. He quickly replenished his pure spiritual qi and attacked the stone door again. After 3 attacks, the stone door finally had a huge gap. However, as soon as he saw the scene of the stone door, Lu Chen was stunned. At that moment, the 9th floor of the tomb was covered in ice and snow. Broken limbs could be seen everywhere on the ground. After looking around, Lu Chen did not see Xuangling. However, in front of the origami's war soul, there was an ice-blue creature with ice spikes all over its body. She seemed to be severely injured, and the origami was walking towards the creature. Someone broke the stone door and entered the tomb. Perhaps the origami's war soul was surprised, so he stopped and looked at the door. He ignored Lu Chen and looked at the dried corpse behind Lu Chen. Loathsome was also staring at the origami. The grudge of thousands of years had not been resolved with time. Instead, it was accumulating. At that moment, the two powerful beings met again after thousands of years. Loathsome teleported and appeared in front of the origami. Ugh! The war souls of the two celestial prime-level powerhouses attacked in an instant, and the entire tomb turned dark. Lu Chen did not have time to care about Loathsome's battle. He still could not find Xuangling. Everyone else was sealed in ice, except for Xuangling. In a flash, Lu Chen appeared in front of the saintess. Where's Xuangling? The holy maiden's entire body was sealed, but her eyes could still move. Her eyes, which were usually calm and unperturbed, were now trying hard to signal Lu Chen with her eyes. He kept gesturing to Lu Chen to look at the creature on the ground. Lu Chen's mind was spinning rapidly. He quickly looked at the creature in front of the origami in shock. Although Shuangling's face was covered with lumps of flesh and it was impossible to tell her original appearance, her clothes and body shape were exactly the same as Shuangling's except for the 2 pairs of arms that extended from her abdomen. She is Shuangling? The saintess blinked. Lu Chen's eyes widened. His mind was in a mess. How did Shuangling become like that? Moreover, she was able to seal the Holy Maiden? There were so many experts here, and she had them all under her control? That meant that her strength was even higher than his. However, now was not the time to figure this out. At this moment, Shuangling had fallen near the battlefield where the 2 war spirits were fighting. It was too dangerous to be there. Lu Chen approached the battlefield with a triple step. His hands moved. I'm all ears. After pulling Shuangling over, Lu Chen quickly retreated from the center of the battlefield. It was really difficult to associate the creature in front of him with the beautiful girl. At this moment, her appearance was a little scary. However, after living with Shuangling for a few days, Lu Chen was very sure that she was Shuangling. At least, her body was Shuangling. Shuangling, is that you? What happened to you? Lu Chen looked at Shuangling, who was lying in his arms with heartache. There were 2 fatal wounds on her chest. One was at her heart, which was a small hole. The other was near her abdomen, which was completely penetrated. Lu Chen's hands were trembling. Shuangling, you wake up. With a crack, the saintess was the first to break free from the frozen state. He also hurried over. Solipsistic, she is the host of the mysterious ice golden beetle. In the past, the mysterious ice golden beetle was only lodging in her heart. Just now, she had no choice but to release the mysterious ice golden beetle and let it drill into her brain and completely occupy her body. What do you mean by completely occupying her body? Lu Chen anxiously asked. The saintess shook her head and sighed. It means, she is no longer Shuangling. What? Lu Chen's eyes widened in anger. The green fog in his eyes became thicker. However, he still needed to calm down. Lu Chen suppressed his anger and asked, Why? Saintess, is there any way to save her? The saintess sighed again. Although I don't know much about the mysterious ice golden beetle, I have heard that once the mysterious ice golden beetle drilled into the brain, there is no cure. This news was like a heavy punch to Lu Chen's heart. There was no cure. Solipsistic, she told me before that she did not want you to see her like this, but... The saintess shook her head and sighed. If it were not for Shuangling, they would all be dead. She seems to have something in her hand. The saintess took out something from Shuangling's hand. It was a voice transmission talisman. Perhaps she had placed it in her hand when she was dying. The voice transmission talisman was left for Lu Chen. After Lu Chen opened it, he saw the message on it. Brother Kwang, I have picked up a lot of treasures. I have sent them to you through email. If I can kill the Aragami's war soul, you must help me check if there's any divine blood of Black Frost in his coffin. That's the hope for the Frost clan to rise again. If you can deliver the divine blood of Black Frost to my sister, the Frost clan will remember it forever. Actually, compared to the mission of the clan, Shuangling hopes that Brother Kwang can live more. Every word made Lu Chen's heart ache. Lu Chen hugged Shuangling tightly. I'm sorry I'm late. If only I could have been faster. If only I could have been faster. Lu Chen lay on Shuangling's body, his voice choked. The 2 powerhouses beside him launched an unusually fierce attack. The entire tomb was shaking, but at this moment, Lu Chen was immersed in the great sorrow of losing his friend. Everything around him had nothing to do with him. He used to think that he was strong enough to protect the people around him. Until now, Lu Chen knew how rough the road of Jiutian was. Mysterious ice divine blood. Shuangling, I have found it. That thing is not in the desolate god's tomb at all. It is in the Lochwater god's tomb. If you can wake up, you will be overjoyed. Beside him, the saintess could also feel Lu Chen's sorrow and sighed. At this moment, the battle between the desolate god and Lochwater had come to an end. The 2 of them exchanged blows, and unimaginably powerful skills were used casually. They had integrated with their battle and were seamlessly connected. This level of battle had stunned everyone. Suddenly, when the 2 of them were in a stalemate, the desolate god and Lochwater attacked at the same time. Both of them were sent flying. With two loud bangs, the two fighting souls hit the wall at the same time and were seriously injured. Not long after, the desolate god's fighting soul stood up again. He staggered and swayed, but he finally stood up. The medicine boy's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as he rushed toward the Lochwater fighting soul. Master Lochwater, you can't lose. However, the Lochwater fighting soul's dry body began to slowly decompose. The desolate god had won the battle between the two celestial primes. To everyone present, this was a nightmare that they could not accept. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.